Chapter 962. The door of the space passage opened, revealing a long, oddly shaped passage. The hanging man who impersonated Yu Chao looked at the Green Wolf Kingdom king and the others with a menacing gaze. He threatened them, "All of you, come in. Although this fool is lazy, it's still very easy for him to kill a few people. If we don't get the whereabouts of the astral stone fragment from the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom, none of you can leave this place. Similarly, if the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom is willing to give us the astral stone fragment, not only can you leave, we can also help you remove the curse." The poet who impersonated the region emperor tried to persuade them. The Green Wolf Kingdom king and the others were silent. They clearly knew that these people were unreasonable people. But what could they do? Expose their laughable excuse? If they did that, they would only make these people shed all pretense of cordiality and attack them directly. Holding on to that 1-in-a-million hope, the Azure Wolf Emperor and the others were not willing to turn hostile and attack him. They only turned around and looked at Yu Yang. Seeing that this young Master Titan did not seem to mind at all, they could not help but feel reassured. With Yu Yang in the lead, the group of people followed the poet and walked into the depths of the space passage. The hanging man grabbed the heavily injured Lord of Still Wind Kingdom and the pearl-glowing beauty and walked at the front. Behind them was the extremely powerful long-bearded old man. Outside, the double-faced king acted as if nothing had happened. He stood there quietly and did not move, as if he was waiting for more guests to arrive. The space passage. Yu Yang felt that this place was different from ordinary space passages. Yet, he could not tell what was strange about it. He only had a suspicion in his heart. After walking to the end, the space in front of him suddenly opened up. What appeared before him was a world that was beyond Yu Yang's expectations. A stone world. There was no sky or earth here. Even the dome that was a few thousand meters high was made of stone. The stones here were not the commonly seen stones on the ground. They were a special kind of energy stones. The transparent energy stones here floated in the sky, forming the sky. The opaque and heavy energy stones formed the ground, flowing like water. In addition, there were all sorts of strange stalagmites, stone flowers and stone trees. Everything was filled with stones. Yu Yang discovered that this stone world was extremely vast. Its surface area was even larger than a large city in Skysplit Tower. He casually picked up a stone at his feet. He found that the stone was full of energy, comparable to a high-quality gem. But here, this stone was ordinary. There were countless crystals that were thousands of times better than it, like the stars in the sky. The stone flowers were as bright as the fresh flowers outside, and the stone trees were as lush as the forest outside. The shapes of the stalagmites were even more dazzling. Some of them were like swords, some were like knives, some were like axes, and some were like spears. They were densely packed, growing everywhere, or hanging upside down from the sky, forming a forest of blades and spears. There were also small animals that looked similar, such as rabbits, mice, dogs, and cows. They were so lifelike that it seemed as if they would jump up from the ground in fright the moment they got close. The most amazing thing was that the water here was also stone. A kind of liquid stone. Yu Yang scooped up a handful of water from the stream. He discovered that it was extremely heavy, even heavier than a normal stone. But strangely, it was liquid, dripping drop by drop into the gaps between his fingers. Apart from a small number of essence crystals that shone brightly, this liquid water was the most energetic. The energy in the water here could not be compared to the Mother Earth potion. But, if all the stone water in the streams and lakes were collected and refined, Yu Yang believed that the energy obtained would not be inferior to the Mother Earth potion that Yu Yang had obtained previously. The Emperor of Green Wolf Empire saw Yu Yang scooping up the stone water, here and sighed. What a pity! What he meant was that it was a pity that he could not refine the energy here. Because everything in this stone world was made of stone, the water here was also made of liquid stone. Even with their heaven-ranked physiques, It was impossible for them to directly absorb and drink it. So, the Emperor of Green Wolf Empire and the other heaven-ranked physiques could only stare at the energy here, unable to use it at all. Unless one's body was completely of the earth attribute, otherwise, no one would be able to absorb the energy here. Yu Yang did not make a sound. He who possessed the nirvana flames, refining it? That was a piece of cake. Furthermore, to the chaotic spirit who possessed the super-elemental body, absorbing energy was her favorite. If she was allowed to come here, she would not be willing to leave until she absorbed all the energy here. There was also the Reaper Mantis sister who grew up later on. She was also good at absorbing energy. Of course, the one who could absorb the most energy was not the two of them, but a man who possessed the heart of Earth. A man wanted to fight here. She was definitely an invincible existence. Yu Yang felt that he must bring a man here when he had the time, and let her strength soar under the nourishment of the earth energy here. No need to look, nothing here belongs to you scum. The laws of the stone world have an extremely strict space restriction. Don't even talk about absorbing energy, you can't even bring a small stone away. The hanging man stood on a tall sharp energy stone, one hand grabbing the Emperor of Still Wind Kingdom, the other hand grabbing the Pearl Beauty, as he mocked the Emperor of Green Wolf Empire below. The Emperor of Green Wolf Empire finally understood why the poet, Savage, Dwarf, Fatty, Longbeard and the others were not tempted by the energy crystals here. It turned out that there was a law restriction here. He followed the hanging man's group and continued to advance forward. After walking for about 10 kilometers in the stone forest, Yu Yang realized that they had stopped in the middle of a stone flower forest. In the most central area there was a stone wall. The wall was like a jade, and its entire body was like a crystal. It was translucent, and it stored unlimited energy, constantly emitting a gentle energy brilliance. On the stone wall there were extremely mysterious ancient runes. Even a person like Yu Yang, who specialized in runes, had a hard time looking at them. Around the ancient rune circle there were 12 depressions. 8 of them had already been filled, while the remaining 4 were still empty. Yu Yang understood at a glance. This should be the astral stone fragment they were talking about. It turned out that it was an energy crystal that could open a deeper space. Emperor of Still Wind Kingdom, you're smart. Take out the astral stone fragment now, and I'll spare your life. The hanging man threw the Emperor of Still Wind Kingdom in front of the astral stone. I really don't have the astral stone fragment. The Emperor of Still Wind Kingdom coughed up blood and smiled bitterly. It's alright, you can open it even if you're missing one astral stone fragment. You just have to sacrifice more rancors. I'll kill your beloved first, and see if you can remember anything. If you think that I'm a kind-hearted good person who will pity you because you're pitiful, then you're completely wrong. For the god's body, for the legendary godly grimoire, let alone you laughable outsiders, even if it was my father or my son, I would kill him without hesitation. The hanging man grabbed the pearl-glowing beauty's neck, as if he was pinching a pitiful little chick. He could break her slender neck at any time. Your Majesty, save me! The pearl-glowing beauty was so scared that her face turned pale. Now was the most critical moment. If she didn't hand over the astral stone fragment, she would really lose her life. My lover, don't be afraid. I'll accompany you on your journey. I won't be alone. The Emperor of Still Wind Kingdom raised his hand, preparing to commit suicide. On the other side, the heartless Yu Yang had no reason to watch this emotional scene of life and death. This kind of thing might be very touching, but he would vomit if he watched it too much. Yu Yang, who had been killed by Aunt Xiong many times before he transmigrated, hated people like Your Majesty. Do you still remember Nanny Rong at the Great Ming Lake the most? Unknowingly, he had already run to the front of the jade-like astral stone. His face was almost stuck to the translucent stone wall as he looked inside. As he discovered something, he cried out in surprise, "Wow, there really is a god's body inside. It's a pity that there's only half of it. The head and body are gone. It looks like a goddess. Aya, she's wearing clothes, but the important parts are covered. I can't see clearly at all, bastard. The Azure Wolf Kingdom's emperor and the others sweated. Young master, can you be a little more nervous? Now is the time to fight and kill. If you want to see the important parts of a woman, shouldn't you find a time when you're free? When the Queen of Freedom heard this, her face turned red. She couldn't help but roll her eyes at Yu Yang. What nonsense are you saying? You must treat a goddess with respect. Yu Yang laughed, pretending to be ignorant. Is that a goddess inside? I can't see clearly at all. Aha, actually, I've always been very respectful to the goddess. I've never had any blasphemous thoughts. I'm an upright gentleman. When he said this, even the enemies on the hanged man's side almost all fell to the ground. Will you die if you don't brag? If you say you're an upright gentleman, are there still despicable people in this world? As you can see, this is the astral stone that leads to the astral world. Now we've already collected 3 astral stone fragments, and only the last one is missing. It's in the hands of the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom. If you can persuade him to take it out and open the astral world gate, then we can consider sharing a bit of the god's blood with the god's body inside. If you don't comply, each and every one of you will become energy for the blood sacrifice. I'll give you 1 minute to consider. I'll start the countdown now. What kind of expression is that? Could it be that you want to resist my will? The hanged man was talking comfortably, but he didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, everyone was looking at him as if they had seen a ghost. Not a single person was listening to him. He couldn't help but explode in anger. Stop, look quickly. The poet calmly shouted to stop him. The hanged man turned his head to look, and was so shocked that he almost threw away the pearl beauty in his hands. Under everyone's watchful eyes, Yu Yang had unknowingly run into the astral space behind the astral stone's teleportation gate. Vaguely, they could see that this brat was standing at the side of the divine body, as if he was about to lift up the goddess' skirt to look inside. What was going on? How could this young master titan run into the astral world that hadn't been opened yet? What kind of treasure or ability could allow him to enter the astral world that even the rankers of the central shrine frowned for? The hanged man even had the thought of tearing this brat apart and committing suicide. However, he had no choice now. This young master titan had already run into the astral world, and they had no choice but to stay outside and watch him. Fortunately, this brat was just lustful. He seemed to be more interested in lifting up the skirt, and didn't keep that half of the god's body the moment he entered. What should he do? The hanged man looked at the calmest poet, trying to think of a solution. However, the poet also had a headache. This young master titan was completely unexpected and unexpected. He had even entered the astral world gate. Who knew what to do when there was an astral stone gate between the inside and outside that couldn't be opened by any external force? Chapter 963. Just when everyone was dumbfounded and didn't know what to do, Yu Yang came out again. He told everyone very honestly, "It is indeed a god's body, and it is indeed a goddess, but I didn't see anything." After a pause, he added, "Who would have thought that there would be a knee-length culottes underneath even though she was clearly wearing a light muslin dress? It seems like she was already prepared." The whole scene suddenly became silent. No one knew what to say. After the Emperor of the Green Wolf Empire and the others were stunned, they gradually remembered that this young Master Titan really had this ability. Back in the previous attack at Still Wind Swamp, he used a shadow-like inherent skill, the shifting shadows, to deceive everyone. Now, it was not impossible for him to use this, shifting shadows, to enter the astral space. However, what the Emperor of the Green Wolf Empire and the others couldn't understand was why this young Master Titan still wanted to come out. He clearly went in, and he was the only one who could enter. Now, he came out all at once. Other than taking off the skirt of the goddess body, he really didn't do anything. This young Master Titan was too obedient. His appearance was so abnormal. Not only the Emperor of the Green Wolf Empire and the others, even his enemies like the Hanged Man and the Poet were all brain-dead. No matter how they thought, they couldn't understand. The barbarian savage wanted to rush over and capture Yu Yang, but the poet who pretended to be the vengeful emperor hurriedly stopped its impulsive actions. He could go out, but he could also go in. If he really made a move on this young Master Titan, wouldn't it be equivalent to driving him into the astral space again? The best thing to do was to pretend that nothing happened. Anyway, he could go in if he wanted, or he could come out and stay with everyone else if he didn't want to. It was very unnecessary to offend such a young master. The central shrine could indeed sweep the world in the lower realm, but in the upper realm, they really didn't dare to say so. There were some things that they couldn't and didn't dare to do too much. You, come here for a moment. The Freedom Queen was a little angry with Yu Yang's actions. To her, Yu Yang was a good boy, how could he do this? She decided to educate Yu Yang. Of course, in this place, only Yu Yang was worth educating. If it was someone like the Azure Wolf Emperor or the Hanging Man, no matter how angry she was, she definitely wouldn't say a word. The reason was simple. In the eyes of the Queen of Freedom, only Yu Yang was worth correcting. As for the others here, no matter if their hearts were mostly broken or completely broken, they were already beyond redemption. Yu Yang happily went over, but in the end, he had no choice but to lower his head and accept a round of moral education. See, what did they look like when they didn't have good moral lessons in the past? Even if he transmigrated, he still had to go through another lesson. Just as Yu Yang was receiving his education, 2 more people entered the stone world. He didn't even need to look to sense how powerful these 2 people were. The Azure Wolf Emperor and other heaven rankers couldn't even see the blurry images that the 2 deliberately maintained with their eyes. From this, it could be determined that the other party's strength had already surpassed them by too much. The 2 people looked a little similar, but the brilliance emitted from their bodies was different. One was wholly golden, the other was angry blood red. The man emitting holy blazing light held a long weapon in his hand, but it was unclear whether it was a staff or a spear. It looked especially glorious and dazzling. The man emitting angry blood red brilliance had a sword at his waist. The tip of the sword seemed to be dripping blood. Moreover, when this person took a step forward, every step he took seemed to leave a wet, bloody footprint. Although the 2 people entered at the same time, they separated into 2 sides. Every step they took, they were on guard against each other, as if they were going to attack each other at any time. That kind of resentment and killing intent, even those sluggish snakes in winter would be scared awake and flee on the spot. Monstrous hatred. Hatred that seeped into their bones. There was only one ending for the 2 of them. They wouldn't rest until one of them died. You haven't found the astral stone fragment yet? Forget it, I can't wait any longer. It doesn't matter, I have already collected the blood of 108 heaven rankers under a certain domain emperor. It seems that it is enough for a sacrifice, the man on the left said. Coincidentally, I have also collected the blood of more than 200 heaven rankers under a certain domain emperor, the man emitting angry blood red brilliance snorted angrily. The Azure Wolf Emperor and the others felt a chill in their hearts. They all recognized who these 2 people were. One was their boss, the Divine Light Domain Emperor, the other was their real enemy, the Wrath Domain Emperor, who hated them even more than the Vengeance Domain Emperor. The Vengeance Domain Emperor. If he had not met him, he might not have come looking for a chance to kill him, but the Wrath Domain Emperor was different. He was born to kill the Divine Light Domain Emperor's subordinates and attack the Divine Light Domain Emperor. Unless the Wrath Domain Emperor died, he would never let go of anyone related to the Divine Light Domain Emperor, the New Water Temple Lord, or the Vengeance Domain Emperor. The poet and the long-bearded man each represented their own forces and bowed to the 2 domain emperors. Their bows were exactly the same, and the timing was the same. Their attitudes were equally respectful, and no one could find any loopholes. But the two domain emperors were still very unhappy. The divine light domain emperor snorted slightly and restrained the anger in his heart. But the wrath domain emperor could not help himself and slapped the poet away. Get lost, you people have no true respect at all. If it were not for the double-faced king's invitation and his promise to give me the rest of the divine body in exchange for a few drops of divine blood, I would never have cooperated with you. The divine light domain emperor laughed loudly. There is no need to cooperate with a mad dog. As long as you give me the divine body, I will not only help you get rid of this mad dog, but I will also generously give up the right to contract the divine grimoire. I know that what the Sun King really wants is the divine grimoire. It's okay, I can give him the divine grimoire, but you must promise me to kill this mad dog in this stone world. There can only be one domain emperor in the Tianhua domain, and that is me. According to the rules, the divine light domain emperor's son has the right to inherit the divine light domain emperor's position. The long-bearded old man nodded, agreeing to the divine light domain emperor's conditions. On the other side, the poet's actions were the opposite. Although his face was swollen, he still bowed politely to the wrath domain emperor and asked, "Do you want to immediately use the blood sacrifice to open the astral world stone gate? I will fight with that despicable person here to determine who is better. Open the astral world gate and immediately go in to find the divine grimoire. If there is none, get out immediately. The double-faced king has brought the Sun King's words, and the divine body belongs to me. If you dare to have any ideas about it, you will die a horrible death." The wrath domain emperor waved his hand coldly. Faster than lightning, the heavy sword attacked the divine light domain emperor at an extreme speed. The sword light was like a raging sea of blood. The Green Wolf Empire Emperor and the others almost vomited when they saw it. They had killed countless people and had never felt disgusted, but now that they saw this sea of blood, they could not help but tremble in fear. The divine light domain emperor had long seen that most of the people present were his subordinates. He used the treasure in his hand to guide, and it turned into a brilliant golden ball of light. It collided with the blood-red ball of light, and then quickly retreated, creating a terrifying tunnel in the stone world. The poet and the long-bearded man had unknowingly received 2 barrels of purified heaven-rank blood. Countless heaven-rank demonic crystals and heaven-rank blood were compressed and slowly injected into the holes of the fragments of the astral world stone. The hanging man, the little dwarf, and the fat man also took out 3 shining fragments of the astral world stone and inserted them into the remaining 3 holes. The brilliance exploded like a waterfall. In a flash, it had flooded the entire stone world. Other than the dull roar of the small-scale battle between the Wrath Domain Emperor and the Divine Light Domain Emperor, the entire stone world had become a sea of light. Yu Yang found it difficult to see anything. The light was so dazzling that he could not even see his fingers if he stretched out his hand. In the light, little Wunli stood quietly beside him. Some of the enemies who were waiting for an opportunity to get close had no choice but to give up. No matter how bright the light was, it could not affect her combat effectiveness. Although her talent was binding, she was also good at controlling, purifying, and sealing. As long as she was willing, even light could not escape her seal. Other than the people beside Yu Yang, the surrounding area had long been in a mess. Everyone could feel it. The door of the astral world stone had been opened. The divine body was just 100 meters in front of them. As long as they stretched out their hands, they could obtain it. Who would not be tempted? When the poet, the long-bearded man, the barbarian, the fat man, the dwarf, and the others began to kill their companions, the Green Wolf Empire Emperor dodged a fatal blow and rushed madly toward the divine body. What divine grimoire, what Sun King, what divine light territory emperor, and what wrath territory emperor, he did not think of any of them. He only thought of one thing, which was to snatch this divine body and hide in the grimoire world. Even if he had to hide for hundreds or thousands of years, it would be worth it, It would be worth it. The Luo Empire Emperor and the others had the same idea as him. However, the fastest person was the Green Wolf Empire Emperor. After all, he was known for his speed. Just as the Green Wolf Empire Emperor stretched out his hand to grab the divine body, the double-faced king was already standing in front of the divine body. With a scythe, he chopped off the Green Wolf Empire Emperor's right hand. Then, with another scythe, as the Green Wolf Empire Emperor tried his best to dodge, he turned around and chopped off one of the Luo Empire Emperor's legs. The jet-black scythe turned a third time and chopped off a few heaven rankers who were chasing after the divine body. Don't rush. Everyone better be smart and don't touch this divine body. Because, underneath her body, there is a high possibility that the entrance to the divine grimoire world is under her. Once we have checked, as an arbitrator, I will not fight with you ants for the treasure. Outside the astral world stone wall, the Divine Light Territory Emperor and the Wrath Territory Emperor suddenly stopped fighting. They stood on the left and right, confronting each other. But at the same time, they were concerned about a question. Double-faced king, is the entrance to the divine grimoire world under the goddess? Is the legend true? In the legend, I have indeed heard of such a thing. A very great goddess, in order for her descendants to successfully enter the divine grimoire contract, used her life and divine power to open a passage above. Although she sacrificed herself, it was all for the sake of her descendants. Today we have finally gathered all the astral stone fragment. After the blood sacrifice we have also opened the astral world, and we have seen this goddess who is worthy of respect. As for the passage, of course there is, although we are not sure if it is the passage to the divine grimoire. Divine Light Territory Emperor and Wrath Territory Emperor, I am very sorry. This is the result of the hard work of the central shrine. After His Majesty the Sun King obtains the divine grimoire, this divine body will be generously bestowed to you. Because you have contributed 4 astral stone fragments, with your contribution, the divine body can be bestowed to you. As for whether you can share it or enjoy it alone, it has nothing to do with us. Now, please leave. The Sun King will definitely give you justice. The double-faced king actually asked the 2 territory emperors to leave, which was beyond everyone's expectations. Indeed, when you see the divine body, you show your true colors. The Divine Light Territory Emperor was not angry, but laughed instead. If you think that you can defeat me, the Territory Emperor, with just a few pieces of trash like you, then that is a joke. The Wrath Territory Emperor was furious, and blood light surged from his body. Of course we are not that stupid. His Majesty the Sun King once said that the Tianhua domain has been rotten for too long. In order to clean up the mess, the old can't be kept anymore, so we have to make a new one. You can all be eliminated. Not only you, but also the territory emperors who are seeking revenge outside should all be on their way. The double-faced king laughed sinisterly. The lion and the golden crown of the Sun King's throne greet the 2 territory emperors. I have never wanted to have exceptions. Other than the 2 territory emperors, you still have the chance to leave. As for the others, I am very sorry. You will all become the blood tribute before the Sun King receives the divine grimoire. This is the highest honor that I can offer to His Majesty the Sun King. Of course, it is fine if the 2 territory emperors are not willing to leave. I have been wanting to chop off your heads for a long time. This honor has always tempted me. Tianhua Domain, Still Wind Swamp, will become the grave of 3 territory emperors. How delightful would that be? From afar, the voices of 2 people could be heard almost at the same time. When Ming Rihao heard it, he secretly reached out to touch Yu Yang. What he meant was that the super-powerful Sun King was about to make his move, and that Yu Yang had to be careful not to be killed instantly by the Sun King. Seeing Ming Rihao, who was a level 8 innate elder, acting like a turtle, Yu Yang's heart could not help but beat faster. Damn the Sun King. It would be a lie if he said he was not afraid. Would this person, who was at the same level as Jiwuri, really appear? Chapter 964. The Sun King had not arrived yet, but the Lion King and the Golden Crown King of the 4 kings and 8 generals had arrived. Other than the Silent King and the Clown, almost all of the Sun King's subordinates were here. This showed how important the central shrine was to the ownership of the divine grimoire. Ming-Ri how quickly filled Yu Yang in on the relevant information. Among the 4 kings, the Silent King represented piety. It was said that the Silent King, the most powerful of the 4 kings, had a strong gift of faith and prayer. His strength was not inferior to the hall masters of the inner and outer halls of the central shrine. Ming-Ri Hao hinted that if he were to face the strongest Silent King alone, he would not be able to defeat him easily. The Silent King, who had not shown up yet, was different from the Lion King, the Golden Crown King, and the Double-Faced King. When the Sun King was growing up, the Silent King had accompanied him as a servant. He was the most capable person by the Sun King's side and could be called the pillar of the Solar Palace. According to the time of joining, the Sun King's subordinates, the Lion King, who represented courage, and the Golden Crown King, who represented honor, were more experienced than the Double-Faced King, who had only joined 8,000 years ago. In terms of strength, they would probably be slightly stronger than the Double-Faced King. Just a lion, a golden crown, and a big scythe. Do you think you can scare us? The Furious Domain Emperor laughed wildly. The Furious Domain Emperor's bravery is unparalleled. Although we have the advantage in numbers, we will not easily win. The Double-Faced King smiled sinisterly. I have a very good suggestion. I wonder if the Furious Domain Emperor will consider it. The Xinguang Domain Emperor has always been at odds with you. Both sides want to get rid of each other. Today is the best opportunity. If you, Wrath Domain Ruler, are willing to accept, then we will do our best to assist you in killing the Xinguang Domain Ruler. We, the Sun King, only want the Divine Grimoire. Even if we give the Divine Body to you, Wrath Domain Ruler, it is not a problem. What do you think of such a condition? Bah! The Furious Domain Emperor roared. Although the Xinguang Domain Emperor and I are mortal enemies, I will not let anyone else do it. You want to sow discord between us so that we can kill each other? This plan is too childish. The Furious Domain Emperor, so you refuse? The Double-Faced King asked casually. Even an idiot wouldn't accept such a ridiculous condition. Even if I join forces with you to kill the Xinguang Region Emperor, you will be able to sit on the sidelines and reap the benefit. From the very beginning, I have seen through your ridiculous trick. If you want me to fall for your evil tricks, you must be dreaming. The Furious Domain Emperor shouted as he increased his energy. His body was surrounded by a blood-red brilliance, forming a horrifying sea of blood. Then, Emperor of the Xinguang region, what do you think? If you accept, we can join hands to kill the angry Domain Emperor. Same condition. Great ancient God above, we will not go back on our words, or we will be cursed. The Double-Faced King turned to the Divine Light Domain Emperor shamelessly and asked, Do you think I look like a fool to you? The Divine Light Region Emperor asked, his body glowing brightly. It doesn't look like it. The Double-Faced King sighed. I don't look like one, but I am. Before the Divine Light Domain Emperor could finish his sentence, he had already condensed a ball of light that was as powerful as the sun and pushed it out, smashing into the arms of the enraged Domain Emperor. You are asking a tiger for its skin. You will die without a burial place. The enraged Domain Emperor was enraged. Instead of retreating, he pressed down on the energy ball and forced it back to the Divine Light Region Emperor. The one who will die will be you. I have a secret agreement with the Sun King. The Divine Light Region Emperor laughed coldly. The Double-Faced King flashed and joined the battle. He joined forces with the Divine Light Region Emperor. Together, they attacked the enraged Domain Emperor. The other 8 generals, such as the poet, the savage barbarian, The fat man, the long-bearded old man, the hanging man, and the dwarf surrounded Yu Yang, the Green Wolf Empire Emperor, and the others. In their minds, these were all insignificant characters. If necessary, their only role was to be used as a blood sacrifice to open the passage of the divine grimoire. Otherwise, they would have been slaughtered long ago. Of course, their attitude towards Yu Yang, the young master of the Titan Empire, was a little different. After all, he was the young master of a famous family in the upper world. It would be best if they could kill all of them and make it clean. Otherwise, it would really cause a lot of trouble. Before the Sun King officially entered the divine grimoire, this young master could not be killed. Moreover, with such weak strength, there was no need to kill him. He would not be a threat at all. All the surviving heaven rankers hid in the world inside the astral stone. In the stone world outside, the enraged domain emperor, the divine light region emperor, and the double-faced king had turned it into ruins. Fortunately, no matter how the stone world outside was destroyed, the space inside was not affected by any energy. It was a safe place for the time being. The entrance and exit of the astral stone wall also stood firm under the destructive energy shockwave. It was completely undamaged. This was the foundation of the stone world. Before the stone world was destroyed, it would not collapse. Unlike the battle between the domain emperors outside worriedly, the Freedom Queen was not as concerned about the outcome of the battle as the others. Instead, she shed tears at the half of the divine body. "She is your mother?" Yu Yang asked. "How is this possible?" Ming-Ri Hao did not need the Freedom Queen to answer. He fainted. How could he guess? "Then why are you crying so sorrowfully?" Yu Yang did not understand. The goddess had made such a great sacrifice for the masses. You should be happy for her. Why are you crying? And why are you crying so sorrowfully? For the first time in her life, the Freedom Queen had the urge to strangle Yu Yang. So be it if he was a busybody. Was he not even allowed to cry? Moreover, it was too much to make wild guesses without understanding the situation clearly. Fortunately, the Freedom Queen had good self-restraint. She was kind and tolerant. She did not argue with this brat. Otherwise, if it was someone else, they might fight with Yu Yang to the death. The Lion King and the Golden Crown King who spoke just now did not see them enter. However, the sharp-eyed Yu Yang suddenly saw two ordinary people, who were dressed very ordinarily, enter. Just how ordinary were these two? They were like stones by the roadside. Even if they had seen them before, even with head manager Yi and head Jin's photographic memory, if these two people were to stand on the streets of Green Willow City, head manager Yi and head Jin would not be able to recognize them. That kind of feeling was like those passers-by on the streets that had nothing to do with them. They would not pay attention to them at all. Even if they saw them, they would forget them as fast as possible. Most importantly, these two people's appearance and dressing were completely different. However, with Yu Yang's eyesight, he could not see any difference. There was no abnormality. That was the biggest abnormality. One must know that Yu Yang had the Heaven Eyes divine vision that could see through all the truths in the world. Now, even his Heaven Eyes divine vision could not see the difference between these two people. Yu Yang could not see any abnormality, let alone others. The two people's statures were not considered tall. Their appearance was ordinary. Their clothes were also old-fashioned. From head to toe there was not a single part of their body that could be seen. This kind of person was even more inconspicuous than the stones by the roadside. It was as if one could point out hundreds of similar people from a random spot on the street. However, these ordinary people were as natural as an old farmer. They walked calmly in the stone world that was filled with destructive shockwaves. It was as if the shockwaves from the battle between the two domain emperors and the double-faced king did not exist at all. When the other heaven rankers saw the two of them, everyone was dumbfounded. Some people even fainted in fright because of the appearance of these two ordinary people. This was because one of the ordinary people on the left was carrying a person in his hand. Avenge the Domain Emperor. The Avenge the Domain Emperor was no longer as relaxed as he was when he was surrounded by Sky Execution and the others. He was already unconscious due to his heavy injuries. His eyes were tightly shut and his chest was sunken in. His limbs were hanging limply and his eyes were closed. Blood flowed from his mouth, dripping down his cheeks and onto the ground. Because of the appearance of these two ordinary people, the Fury Domain Emperor, the Divine Light Domain Emperor, and the double-faced king all stopped fighting. Which one of them is the Sun King? Yu Yang's expression changed. He quickly asked Ming Ri how using telepathy. It was the first time that his Heaven Eye's divine vision could not see through the enemy's true identity. I don't know. Ming Ri Hao shook his head bitterly. Although he tried his best to relax his body, he still tensed up unconsciously. If it wasn't for Yu Yang's creation domain that helped to conceal his aura, it would have leaked out long ago. The enemy would then be able to see that the real expert was Ming Ri Hao, who was hiding in the crowd. Other than shrinking his body and bending his waist, Ming Ri Hao also closed his eyes. He did not dare to look at the two ordinary people. He was afraid that one of them, the Sun King, would sense him and discover him. Yu Yang and Ming Ri Hao had guessed that the Sun King would come. They never expected that. This Sun King would come so quickly. No one knew him, and no one could see through Ming Ri Hao. Why did the Sun King come so early? Wasn't he supposed to open the passage to the Divine Grimoire and come here leisurely after the Furious Domain Emperor and the Shenguang Domain Emperor fought to the death? This was too abnormal. Greetings, Taijia. We did not want to disturb everyone's business so early. However, in order to fulfill the wish of a good friend, we had no choice but to come early. Please forgive us if we have disturbed you. The ordinary person who was carrying the unconscious Revenge Domain Emperor explained to the crowd politely and apologized. Then, a severely injured man appeared out of nowhere. He held the man in his hand, just like the Revenge Domain Emperor. The others did not have much reaction because they did not know him. However, Yu Yang's pupils contracted. This man was on the verge of death. He was actually the snake-haired devil man who invited Yu Yang to White River City. He was the young master Eternal Wind of the Gudu family, one of the 4 most powerful families in the Heaven Realm. Yu Yang's eyes turned cold instantly. As cold as frost. Now, he understood that the person who was fishing was not only himself, but also the owner of the Sun God Palace, the Sun King. This ordinary-looking, scary man was definitely the biggest enemy in his life. He was even scarier than Ji Wuri. After all, even Ji Wuri didn't really realize his existence, but this Sun King appeared in front of him like a fisherman who had profited from the fish. Just where did he reveal his flaws? Yu Yang still could not figure it out. However, he was sure that the Sun King was not only after the Divine Grimoire, but also after him. Chapter 965. Stormy Sea. The battle was still going on. The barbaric Bull brothers' blood dyed the huge waves that hit them red. Seeing that they were sent flying, the Dragon Emperor stretched out his hands helplessly. Other than barely keeping his body from being swallowed by the stormy sea, he could no longer spare any strength to catch his 2 companions who had fought side by side. At the most dangerous moment, Hui Tailang, who was heavily injured and bathed in blood, struggled to jump up and bit the barbarian bull boss with one of his teeth, while hooking the second barbarian bull boss with his tail, bringing the 2 of them, who had completely lost their ability to fight, into the grimoire world. On the other side, Tao Tai also used his body to support the Emperor of the Underworld, who was vomiting blood but still gritted his teeth and persevered. Among the people who were fighting, the only one who could still stand was Sky Execution. He was the Vengeance Domain Emperor. Up until now, he had been the main force of the team against the Lion King and the Golden Crown King. The Vengeance Domain Emperor was killed by the strongest enemy in one move. He fell to the ground and fainted instantly. Perhaps he looked down on Sky Execution and the others and felt that they were not qualified to fight. Or perhaps he was afraid that things would change. The strongest enemy just carried the Vengeance Domain Emperor and left. He did not attack Sky Execution and the others again. However, this did not mean that Sky Execution and the others could survive. The most powerful enemy had left, but his subordinates, the Lion King and the Golden Crown King, had stayed. That person's order was to cut the weeds and eliminate them all. Just the Lion King alone was enough to kill the exhausted Sky Execution and the others. Moreover, there was still the Golden Crown King, who was watching from the side and could launch a fatal attack at any time. You can't win. Just surrender. You all have great potential. In time, your achievements may not be lower than ours. This was the third time the Lion King advised them to stop attacking. In his eyes, Sky Execution and the Dragon Emperor were really talented. Not to mention the barbarian Bull Brothers, just the uncontracted but incomparably psychic mythological beast and the peculiar-shaped Earth Divine weapon were worth going against the original intention of the plan to recruit. After all, talents were rare. Sometimes, enemies could turn into friends or even loyal subordinates when they were converted. As a leader, he had to be broad-minded and tolerant of others. There are only God's retribution who dies in battle. There are no God's retribution who surrenders. God's retribution's attitude was simple and clear. He would rather die than surrender. All right, I'll fulfill your wish. A hint of admiration flashed in the Lion King's golden eyes. However, his admiration for her character did not hinder his actions. He would appreciate the enemy's insistence on their ideals. He admired the enemy's integrity. However, if he encountered an enemy with a different ideology, he would never let them go. This was because in his belief, anyone other than himself was an enemy. As long as it was an enemy, the best outcome would be death. No matter who it was, as long as it wasn't one of them, they had to die. The Lion King raised its head and roared. The entire storm sea suddenly fell into an inexplicable silence. All the storms seemed to have been intimidated into a daze. All stopped. When the surface of the sea started moving again, God's retribution and the others were shocked to find that the stormy sea's surface had become the mouth of a lion. God's retribution and his companions were standing on the tip of the lion's tongue. In an instant, he was about to be swallowed by the lion's mouth. How could he block such an attack? This Lion King was so powerful that it could affect the entire stormy sea, which was filled with chaotic energy fluctuations. Oh my God! Before the calamity engulfed his body, God's retribution felt so small and powerless for the first time. The danger was not only in the stormy sea outside. Although there was no battle in the stone world inside the space channel, it was 1,000 times more dangerous. Yu Yang, who thought that he had hidden his identity well and no one would be able to see through him, realized that the two seemingly ordinary but definitely not ordinary people had come for him. They didn't even spare another glance at Ming Ri Hao. The person, who was carrying the vengeful Domain Emperor in one hand and the snake-haired devil in the other, ignored everyone's reactions and walked directly to Yu Yang. Gently, he put down the snake-haired demonic man in his hands, and stared at Yu Yang's eyes with a gaze that seemed as if he wanted to see clearly. After a long time, he finally nodded his head heavily and said with absolute certainty, as expected of an exceptional genius, "Calling him an abnormal genius is really not an exaggeration. You are the Sun King?" Yu Yang felt as if he was being stared at by a ferocious beast. A sense of danger that he had never felt before rose in his heart. I spoke. Naturally, I am not the Silent King. Although that person said so, Yu Yang was still not 100% sure that he was the Sun King. His heaven eyes' divine vision couldn't see the difference between the person in front of him and the silent person. Could it be that the Sun King was so powerful that he could imitate others and still hide from his eyes? The Silent King, who was at the same level as the double-faced king, was actually as powerful as his master, the Sun King? Impossible, there must be a problem somewhere. I have to be calm and see the enemy's weakness. Otherwise, I will definitely lose this battle. Ming Rihao saw that Yu Yang was being suppressed by the Sun King and felt a chill in his heart. But the situation did not allow him to retreat. He had to support this young man with all his might. Otherwise, not only Yu Yang, even he himself would be killed by the Sun King. He stood up and condensed his aura. He was about to stand in front of Yu Yang to protect him. The double-faced king thought that he was Yu Yang's last secret guard. He floated over with lightning speed and floated behind Ming Rihao. He hooked the black demonic scythe around Ming Rihao's neck and said with a sinister smile, "Sir, this is a conversation between the higher-ups. It has nothing to do with you. If you want to have a chat or have some fun, please come over here. As long as you do not disturb Sir's conversation, I will accompany you anytime." Ming Rihao's aura exploded like thunder. Close to 100 lightning bolts shot out from his body. His huge body was as glorious as a god's body. It emitted a light that was even more intense than the sun. The stunned double-faced king did not expect that there was such an abnormal person hiding here. He quickly waved his scythe to attack. However, his demonic scythe couldn't break through Ming Rihao's defense even after using all his strength. Ming Rihao turned around and gave the double-faced king a heavy blow. The blow sent the double-faced king flying 10,000 meters away. Along with the demonic scythe, the double-faced king crashed into the ground of the stone world for 100 meters. After a long time, the heaven rankers who were so shocked that their eyeballs almost fell to the ground heard the double-faced king's earth-shattering voice. The shockwave from Ming Rihao's attack was even faster than the sound. It instantly engulfed the entire stone world. All the heaven rank powerhouses couldn't help feeling as if the world was about to be destroyed. If they hadn't been in the astral world, all the heaven rank powerhouses below the ruler level would have been turned to dust by the shockwave. Qing Lang and the others were shocked. Even the Fury Domain Emperor and the Divine Light Domain Emperor, who were standing in the center of the shockwave, couldn't stand still. The shockwave sent them flying 100 meters away. It didn't hit them directly. Furthermore, it had such a terrifying power. If it was like the double-faced king and he was hit in the chest, wouldn't that mean? Ming Rihao stretched out his hand and pressed down forcefully. The shockwave that was about to destroy the entire stone world suddenly stopped. It was as if the surface of the ocean had instantly calmed down. The dazzling Ming Rihao was like a sun at this moment. It was hard for people to look at his piercingly cold divine might directly. Under everyone's fearful gaze, Ming Rihao took a big step forward. His 10-meter-tall blazing body shone brightly and completely covered Yu Yang's tiny figure. Ming Rihao stretched out his hand and pointed at the Sun King. He shouted in a deep voice, "Lai Zhongkong, you are here to look for me, old Hao, right? What a good scheme. Actually, if you want to attack our Ming clan, you can just say it directly. There's no need to hide it." Sun King, who looked like an ordinary person, stood in front of Ming Riwu. He didn't move an inch under the impact of Ming Riwu's extremely powerful aura. The temple has always supported the three big shots, and the Ming clan has always been our loyal ally. How could we possibly attack the Ming clan? Lord Ming Rihao has misunderstood. Actually, Lai Zhongkong had come today because he wanted to see his old friend. After all, Ming Yu Guang, one of the three great leaders, had broken free from the seal and returned to the heaven realm. Such a joyous event was something that the Divine Palace couldn't help but celebrate. However, compared to congratulating his old friend for regaining her freedom, what was more important was to welcome the new prison emperor of Tong Tian Tower to visit the heaven realm. Welcome, the new prison emperor Yu Yang Yu Titan. Although Lai Zhongkong is not the ruler of Tianhua region, I welcome you with sincerity. Even though Ming Rihao's willpower was as strong as steel, the Sun King's last sentence caused him to tremble. He couldn't help but feel shocked. He knew that the Sun King was not here for him, but for Yu Yang. The reason why he hurriedly stood out to block the Sun King for Yu Yang was because he wanted to test how much information this Sun King had, so that he wouldn't make a mistake. What Ming Ri Wu didn't expect was that not only did the Sun King see through his and Yu Yang's original plan, he had also completely grasped Yu Yang's identity. Yu Yang came from Tong Tian Tower and had already grown to become the new prison emperor. If the Sun King knew such a secret, then what else did he not know about Yu Yang? Ming Ri Wu's heart kept sinking. At this moment, he remembered what his sister Ming Yu Guang had said before. In the central shrine, the Great Hall Master Dong Fang was the smartest and the Temple Master Ji Wuri was the strongest. As for the Sun King Lai Zhongkong, he was the most difficult opponent to deal with. Actually, a few years ago, Lai Zhongkong had already heard of the unique name of Yu Yang. During the first battle, the Titan Prince became famous in the Prison Emperor Divine Palace. At that time, he broke the Prison Emperor Divine Palace's seal with his own strength and completely inherited the Prison Emperor's will and divine weapon. Even the two great leaders, Jiu Shao and Void, had no choice but to escape. When Lai Zhongkong heard the news, he was extremely shocked. The Titan Prince was probably the only youth in the world who had defeated a great leader of the Heaven Realm with just his innate strength. No matter if it was intelligence or ability, it was enough to shock the Heaven Realm. In order to collect more information about the Titan Prince, Lai Zhongkong had put in a lot of effort. He had sent out all kinds of informants countless of times, but the results were very little. The Titan Prince, who had the will, treasure and ability of the Conquest Queen and the Prison Emperor, appeared and disappeared mysteriously between the Tong Tian Tower and the Heaven Realm. It was really hard to fathom him. Sometimes he would appear in the Southern Heaven Realm, sometimes he would appear in the Western Heaven Realm. Every time he appeared, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds, causing Lai Zhongkong to exclaim in admiration. Even the 9 Light Clan's Heavenly Empress, who had led her clan to attack the Tong Tian Tower, was completely annihilated in the hands of the Titan Prince. Such miracles forced Lai Zhongkong to revise his battle plan again and again. The turning point was only when young Master Chang Feng of the 4 major clans appeared. Young Master Chang Feng and the Titan Prince agreed to meet at the White River City of the Tianhua region. Young Master Chang Feng was righteous and came to fulfill the promise he made in the past. On the other hand, the Titan Prince was trustworthy and gave up the good opportunity to challenge the trials to come from thousands of miles away. Today we have seen that the new Prison Emperor is even better than before. The Titan Prince's innate talent is indeed unparalleled in the world. Even among the millions of elites in the Heaven Realm, no one could be compared to the Titan Prince. The worries of Void and Jiu Shao that day were not without reason. With the Titan Prince's growth speed, not to mention us, it is even possible for him to challenge the Ji Zun of the temple. Lastly, may I ask the Titan Prince, how is the Conquest Queen doing recently? I believe that my old friend has already broken free from the seal and regained his freedom? There was a very calm smile on the Sun King's face, as if he was a hospitable host. While welcoming his guest, he also asked about his old friend. When the Sun King finished speaking, Ming Ri Hao's expression had already changed 3 times. This fellow was much scarier than what his sister had said. What should he do? Ming Ri Hao realized that no matter if it was his intelligence or fighting power, he was not a match for the Sun King. The only thing he could do now was to rely on Yu Yang. He turned around and looked at Yu Yang with hope. This brat was a big pervert. How should he deal with him? Chapter 966. Yu Yang revealed a smile on his face. He was unusually calm. Not only did he smile, he even clapped his hands. He clapped his hands and sighed. This is the first time I realized that someone cares about me so much and understands me so well. It would be great if you were a peerless beauty. Unfortunately, you aren't. Ming Ri Hao almost fell to the ground. He thought to himself, are you serious? Big brother, the enemies are already at your doorstep, yet you are still thinking about beauties and pushing them down. Can't you let your brain rest for a while? Other than Ming Ri Hao, who was sweating profusely, the others like Fury Region Emperor and Divine Light Region Emperor looked at Yu Yang in shock. They never thought that the Sun King would even look down on Ming Ri Hao from the Ming clan. Instead, he paid more attention to this unknown Titan Prince. Was this brat really the new prison emperor of Tong Tian Tower? The one who defeated Void and Jiu Shao of the three great leaders of Heaven Realm? Did he really inherit the three divine equipment of the prison emperor? Was he really the disciple of the Conquest Queen? If it wasn't for the Sun King, they wouldn't have thought of it. This brat really hid his strength well. Zhong Guan and the other guards naturally knew about Yu Yang's identity, but they were a little surprised. After all, they didn't know that Yu Yang was the disciple of the Conquest Queen. They also rarely saw Yu Yang using the three divine equipment of the Prison Emperor. However, they had seen the Prison Emperor divine sword in Princess Sisai's hands before. As for Feng Ji and Jin Yun, who had just joined, they were even more dumbfounded. This young Master Titan was too freakishly strong. Even the Sun King of the Solar Divine Palace of the Central Divine Palace had personally come out, but he still didn't dare to attack immediately. What kind of crazy news is this? The new Prison Emperor of Tong Tian Tower? Class Leader Jean and General Manager Yez Brains couldn't handle this kind of shock. Their eyes turned white and they fainted. The Emperor of Green Wolf Empire and the others beat their chests and stamped their feet. To think that they wanted to play mind games with this kind of abnormal person. They were really so stupid that they didn't even know. Actually, even the poet, the Longbeard, the Hanging Man and the others who participated in the overall plan were a little dumbfounded. They knew that the three region emperors were ambushed, but they never thought that the Sun King's real goal was to lure a big fish like Yu Yang. The new prison emperor, the disciple of the Conquest Queen, was he really that easy to bully? Moreover, there was the super-strong Ming Ri Hao standing beside him. If it weren't for the Sun King, the power of the four kings, Silence, Lion, Golden Crown and Two-Faced, wouldn't be enough. Fortunately, he had a stronger and smarter Sun King on his side. He coughed up blood and scolded loudly, "What the F***CK, which part of me doesn't look handsome? All of you go away. Don't think that you can get rid of me by saying a few words of nonsense. Who is the Sun King? Idiot, no matter what you say, I'm going to die today. Of course, there's also you idiots." When he said the last sentence, the snake-haired devil man's voice was a little choked. He didn't expect that at this time, Yu Yang still wanted to use this kind of lousy trick to save him. He also knew that it was impossible. The Sun King wasn't someone who would change his mind with just a few words. No matter whether he was related or not, as long as he appeared here, he would definitely die. However, although Yu Yang's actions were lousy and melodramatic, he was still a little touched. Damn it, don't tell me that I don't even have the qualifications to be friends with this kid before I die. The Sun King listened to the snake-haired devil man Dugu Changfeng's words. His face was still calm. He wasn't angry at all. He even nodded with a slight smile. I've decided on one thing, and it's indeed not easy to change my mind. Just like when I suspected the Titan Prince, I would rather spend several years to go from a huge investment to nothing. Then, I spent all my efforts and paid an infinite price to get some bits and pieces of information. And now, because I have enough perseverance and patience, I've waited until the final harvest. You seem to be very confident? Yu Yang scratched the back of his head and asked with a puzzled tone, "If you're so confident, why are you standing still? You can't be careless when dealing with a difficult opponent. Almost all the losers who have the possibility of winning and great strength have overlooked certain details and revealed flaws because of carelessness. Instead, they've ruined all their efforts. I've seen too many cases like this, and I've seen too many people who have made a single mistake that will bring about everlasting regret. Life can't be restarted, and once the outcome is set, it can't be reversed. Therefore, no matter how confident I am, I have to be cautious and make bold guesses in all aspects. I have to be careful to verify the results and ensure that I won't lose the final fruit of victory. Furthermore, according to my intelligence, the Titan Prince is a heaven-defying person in terms of strength, wisdom, and luck. Many powerful opponents have either died under your strength or failed under your calculations. Even if there are opponents that you can't defeat no matter how much you calculate, such as the 9 Glory Clan's Empress, you have enough luck to defy the heavens and send her into the abyss of failure. Therefore, how can I be careless when dealing with an opponent like you? The Sun King's words were definitely sincere. It could be said that he was being frank and straightforward. Incomparably frank. However, when Ming Ri Hao heard this, beads of cold sweat rolled down his forehead. Damn, how can there be such a freak like the Sun King in this world? He has absolute strength, but he is cautious and meticulous. How can people live with such an opponent? The snake-haired devil's lips revealed a bitter smile. Compared to the Sun King, he, the mature and rational young master from the upper realm, was just a child. There was no way to compare at all. The Furious Territory Emperor and the Divine Light Territory Emperor, who stood beside the Sun King, also felt a sense of insignificance. The smile on Yu Yang's face was still maintained, but even he felt that his smile was a little stiff. His hands were lowered as much as possible in a relaxed state. He didn't dare to clench his fists, because he was afraid that if he clenched his fists, he would tremble uncontrollably. If Queen Vivian Li was here, or Ji Zun was here, Yu Yang would definitely burst into tears. Which godly gaming company arranged this boss? They can't play people like this. I've only killed a few elite monsters and leveled up a few days ago. I'm still far from the max level, but I've already completed this kind of dungeon. Damn it, do you think there are hundreds of priests ready to resurrect me? This is the end of the game if I die. But Queen Vivian Li can't leave the Black Hole Seal, and Ji Zun isn't here either. I'm alone, I have no choice but to die. Yu Yang kind of understood how sad the prison emperor was when he died alone. If he could, he would just give up. Yu Yang would leave immediately. But he couldn't. The current situation was that no matter if Yu Yang left or not, he couldn't escape from the Sun King's attack. This guy had been eyeing him for a few years, waiting to make a move on him. How could he escape so easily? Let's go one by one. Ming Ri Hao suddenly laughed and slapped heavily on Yu Yang's shoulder. The strength was so strong that it almost made Yu Yang pass out. Don't put on an act with me. Get lost immediately and find a place to hide. When you have enough strength, take revenge for us. In the end, if you dare to bully my sister, I won't dare to go against you even if I become a ghost. Let's go, young master, we're just ants. Zhong Guan and the other guards knelt on the ground, including Feng Ji and Jin Yun, who had just been accepted, without hesitation. It's not a loss for us to die here. At least we've seen the god's body. This was Hua Ban and Fei Huang. Remember to continue that fine tradition. Although we're at a disadvantage, it's indeed a good tradition. White Horse and Black Soil couldn't forget the tradition of beating people. Shut up, you guys are so annoying. I'm the young master. If I don't say anything, why are you guys so noisy? Yu Yang took out the 3-realm compass and placed it in front of Ming Ri Hao. Do you see that? The other party had already calculated this. Now that there's the power of the ancient code obstructing the teleportation, do you think you can run just because you say so? If I can run, I'll run away without saying a word. I don't need your nonsense. I feel that the Titan Prince still has some powerful trump card that he hasn't used. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so calm. The Sun King suddenly laughed. I can't guess what the Titan Prince's final confidence is, but it's definitely not fake. This is the real reason why I have to be so careful. Motherf *Ker, if I manage to capture you, I'll cut your flesh piece by piece. Yu Yang had never been so angry in his entire life. I think so too, the Sun King agreed. Then, he added with certainty, ever since the day I knew you, I've wanted to do this. Chapter 967. Let's go. Old How is going all out today. It's my fault for making such a bad friend. Ming-Ri Hao knew that he could not defeat the Sun King. But in order not to lose all of them, he decided to personally escort Yu Yang out of here. With Yu Yang's potential, as long as he could escape today's predicament, he would be able to conquer the Queen and his sister Ming Yu Guang in the future. He would definitely be able to take revenge on the Sun King. What a great spirit of sacrifice! The Sun King smiled indifferently. He turned to the Furious Domain Emperor and the Divine Light Domain Emperor and asked, "What about you? What's your decision?" Ming-Ri Hao and I are sworn enemies. Even a deaf person knew how bad the relationship between the Furious Domain Emperor and Ming-Ri Hao had become. It was not strange for him to say such a thing. However, to everyone's surprise, the Furious Domain Emperor added, "I will kill Ming-Ri Hao with my own hands. But it does not mean that I will watch you kill him, even if you are the Sun King of the Solar Divine Palace in the Central Shrine." Even Yu Yang was a little shocked after hearing that. Let's think about it more deeply. Then he felt relieved. The Furious Domain Emperor was the second brother who caused all the tragedies. He was narrow-minded and stubborn. He really hated Ming-Ri Hao, the third brother, or it could be said that the Furious Domain Emperor hated everyone back then. He felt that he was the biggest victim. He even felt that the reason why he caused this tragedy was because everyone had deceived him at the start, and he didn't get to marry his true lover. However, no matter how much the Furious Domain Emperor hated Ming-Ri Hao, he wouldn't treat him as an outsider. He hated Ming-Ri Hao, and he couldn't wait to kill Ming-Ri Hao and everyone else who caused this tragedy. However, Ming-Ri Hao was still his brother. At this critical juncture where everyone was in a life-and-death situation, the first choice of the Furious Domain Emperor would definitely be his brother who had fought side by side with him in the past. No matter how much hatred and resentment he had in his heart, his trust was far greater than that of the Sun King, who was in the opposing camp. The Sun King seemed to know that the Furious Domain Emperor would say that, so he did not react. But the Divine Light Domain Emperor thought about it. He bowed to the Sun King and said, "Your Majesty, as long as you support the Divine Light's management of the Tianhua domain, the Divine Light will definitely go all out to eliminate the rebels." The Sun King paused for a moment before shaking his head. "I can lie to you and say that I will support you in becoming the Region Emperor of the Tianhua domain and become the true master of this place. I can even lie to you and say that I will give you the divine blood and make you a capable general under my command. However, I can't do that, nor do I want to do that. Because I don't want to leave behind any hidden dangers in front of young Master Tai Tan. Unless it's my most trusted aide, I won't feel at ease if anyone leaves this place. You guys probably don't know how difficult it is to kill this Titan Prince, and how many inconceivable miracles he has created. In order to completely eliminate this potential opponent, Master Titan, I can give up all my interests, including you, the Emperor of the Xinguang region, who is very likely to become my right-hand man." The Divine Light Domain Emperor's breathing became chaotic in an instant, and he seemed to have suffered a great blow. The brilliant light was still there, just like before. However, everyone could feel the panic and anger of the Divine Light Domain Emperor. Even though he wanted to become a pawn, the Sun King actually rejected him in front of everyone, not even willing to tell a lie. From this, it could be seen that the Sun King was determined to kill Yu Yang. Even if a region emperor was willing to take the initiative to surrender, he would still carefully give up. He would rather not have a powerful region emperor than to kill Yu Yang. At this level, he would rather kill 1,000 wrongly than let a single person go. If you want to live, then attack together with Old How. Ming-Ri Wu frantically raised his breathing and released his energy. The Divine Light Domain Emperor was still unwilling to respond to Ming Ri Wu and did not join forces with him. He directly fled to the space tunnel outside the Stone World. As long as Ming Ri Wu attacked, no matter how strong the Sun King was, he would not be able to stop him from leaving. The Silent King's enemy was the angry Region Emperor. As for the double-faced king who had just crawled out of the ruins, he needed to keep an eye on that young Master Titan. His opponents were only the 8 generals under his command. Just based on them, could they stop him? Like a ray of light cutting through the sky. It was unbelievably fast. In less than 1,000th of a second, the Divine Light Domain Emperor had already flown to the entrance of the space tunnel. It was not strange that his speed of escape was slightly faster. After all, he was escaping. What puzzled the Heaven Rankers who were watching the battle was that Ming Ri Wu, who had almost reached his peak state, rushed towards the Sun King at a speed as slow as a snail. How could this be? Time territory. The snake-haired demon man, who was hanging upside down in the hands of the Sun King, smiled bitterly. And the law of time. The avenging Region Emperor, who had woken up at some point, sighed weakly. Under the influence of the Sun King's time territory and the law of time, the escaping Divine Light Domain Emperor uncontrollably increased his speed by 1,000 times, while Ming Ri Wu slowed down by 1,000 times. Everyone knew the serious consequences of uncontrollably increasing or slowing down. The Divine Light Domain Emperor was like a blind fly, smashing into the entrance of the space tunnel and smashing it into pieces. As for Ming Ri Wu, he was easily pushed back by the Silent King, who was guarding the Sun King, like an adult hitting a child. At this moment, even a blind person could see that there was no way to fight this battle. The Sun King had mastered the speed of time. As long as his time territory did not disappear, as long as his law of time was still in effect, then anyone's attack or escape would become a joke. Break! The furious Region Emperor roared like thunder and exploded with all his strength. His body shot out thousands of rays of bloodlight. It formed a sea of blood around him. The sea of blood surged. It shattered the matter of the stone world that it came into contact with into powder. The furious Region Emperor shouted crazily. He expanded his blood territory to fight against the Sun King's time territory. No matter how many thousands of years had passed, the Blood Sea was still the Blood Sea. The speed of time could not change the furious Region Emperor's innate talent, raging tide, and blood territory. This was a hatred that could not be diluted no matter how much time passed. Ming Ri Wu returned to Yu Yang's side in a flash. He grabbed Yu Yang's collar and shouted, "Go, what are you waiting for?" Yu Yang's face was expressionless, and he did not say a word. On the other side, the Silent King did not chase and looked coldly. The Sun King, who was holding the snake-haired demon man and the furious Region Emperor, still had a smile on his face. His hands did not move, but as soon as he thought of it, a brilliant holy grimoire appeared. The pages turned, and a guardian beast that was as cold as the sun rose above his head. To be precise, this was not a sun. This was a clock similar to the sun. Its light was like an arrow, and there was a time pointer and a time table on its surface. The current time was exactly 5 minutes and 35 seconds. When I was young, I was very excited when I successfully contracted a grimoire. But my guardian beast was a clock, and its innate skill was recovery, so I became the laughing stock of my companions. A useless innate skill that was so weak that it could not even move a slightly bigger stone, a guardian beast that could only tell time. This combination made me suffer a lot of mockery and disdain when I was young. As the Sun King spoke, the time on the sun clock in the sky kept moving, and Yu Yang's face became uglier and uglier. The Sun King shook his head and smiled again. However, I read a book from the Tong Tian Tower. The expert in the book said a theory that aroused my interest. He said that there were no useless beasts in the world, no useless innate skills, only useless people. After reading this book, I was greatly inspired, as if I had been reborn. I also made up my mind to train hard, and decided to become a useful person. I wanted to turn the useless beasts and useless innate skills into the best beasts and the best innate skills. Later, I succeeded, and I became the Sun King of the Sun God Palace in the Central Shrine. What do you mean? The angry Region Emperor thought that the Sun King wanted to use his hard work and achievements to teach him a lesson. No, I just want to tell you that at my level, no matter what innate skills or beasts, they are all powerful. Once I use them, any enemy who is weaker than me will not be able to resist me. The Sun King said calmly, as if it was natural for a kindergarten teacher to teach a child that 1 + 1 is equal to 2. After the Sun King finished speaking, the clock hand on the special type guardian beast sun clock above his head suddenly reversed. The blood sea that had expanded almost half of the stone world was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. It kept shrinking back into the body of the angry Region Emperor. The clock hand reversed for a minute. The angry Region Emperor was shocked to find that his blood sea had returned to his body, and his body had also returned to the position before the explosion. The stones that had been turned into powder by the blood sea and half of the stone world had all returned to normal. The most terrifying thing was that Ming Ri Hao, who was holding on to Yu Yang's collar, was sent flying backwards. On the other side, the Divine Light Region Emperor, who was trying to escape, also returned to the position he had escaped from the broken tunnel entrance at high speed, when the clock hand of the sun clock returned to 0.5 minutes sharp. Everything returned to its original state. The stone did not shatter, and the entrance to the spatial passageway was in perfect condition. Ming Ri Hao's face, which had been punched by King of Silence, had also disappeared. The two of them returned to their original positions in the state of being attacked. Realm of Time. The snake-haired demon man, who was hanging upside down in the hands of the Sun King, smiled bitterly again. And the Law of Time. The vengeful Region Emperor opened his eyes again, as if he had just woken up. He sighed weakly, just like what he had said before. At this moment, the clock hand of the sun clock. It started moving again. The Divine Light Region Emperor, who was originally trying to escape, stopped his futile actions. Ming Ri Hao, who was originally trying to help Yu Yang escape, also stopped his attack on the Sun King. Everyone completely understood why the Titan Prince, Yu Yang, did not leave. The reason was that the Sun King, who had the Sun Clock, the recovery inherent skill, the realm of time and the law of time, was a tyrannical existence. Not to mention fighting him, even escaping would become an unattainable dream. No, in front of the Sun King, even suicide was completely impossible. Without his consent, suicide would only become the biggest joke. Pa! The Sun King threw the snake-haired demon man on the ground. The clock hand of the sun clock turned back for a second, and the snake-haired demon man returned to the hands of the Sun King. Pa! He threw it again. The clock hand turned back. Pa! The clock hand turned back again. The snake-haired demon man could not help but cry, "Enough, if you want to kill me, then kill me. Kill your father." The Sun King's expression was calm as usual, and he looked at Yu Yang seriously. "How is it, Titan Prince, do you see any flaws?" "Damn." Yu Yang could not help but give this guy the middle finger. Chapter 968. All the heaven rankers were crying. What did it mean to be as powerful as a god? This was it. Apart from kneeling down in front of the Sun King, no one could think of anything else to do. Even Yu Yang felt that this Sun King, who had an ordinary appearance but was so awesome that he had never seen anyone before, was really awesome. At first, he used a clock that could only be used to tell time, and he upgraded it to the sun clock. He used a recovery talent that could not move small stones, and he upgraded it to the recovery of all things. Furthermore, under the time domain and the laws of time, he achieved the abnormal realm of reversing time. If it were not for the fact that his strength far exceeded the Sun King's, he would have been tortured to death by this guy. The Azure Wolf Emperor and the others collapsed to the ground helplessly. Resist? It was meaningless. In front of the Sun King, it made no difference whether he resisted or not. If only he could die earlier. That was already the best result. You think of a way. Ming Ri Hao threw this difficult problem to Yu Yang. He decided not to worry about the Sun King's ability, in case his brain exploded and he died. You're so smart. Yu Yang gave him 2 bumps in disdain. I'm giving you a chance to train yourself. Ming Ri Hao accepted it even if he was despised. After all, he couldn't defeat the abnormal Sun King. No way. Do you really have a way to break it? The snake-haired devil man, who was thrown on the ground, screamed. The Vengeance Sovereign, the Wrath Sovereign, and the Divine Light Sovereign looked over in astonishment. Even the Sun King, the Silent King, and the others were watching quietly. Everyone was suspicious, but no one was as suspicious as the Sun King. Just a small amount of information about Yu Yang was enough for the Sun King to admit that this kid was the toughest enemy he had ever faced. If not for the fact that Yu Yang was so young and inexperienced, the Sun King was worried that he would not be able to defeat such an opponent. What's with your eyes? Yu Yang saw that everyone was looking at him suspiciously, and he suddenly became angry. Really? Ming Ri Hao was pleasantly surprised. Could it be that this brat had a skill that was even more powerful than the Sun King's reversal of time? Can't be. Isn't turning back time the most despairing ability in the world? Yu Yang waved his hands, signaling Ming Ri Hao to stand further away so that he wouldn't hinder his performance. Ming Ri Hao was as obedient as a primary school student. Slip to one side. She stared unblinkingly at Yu Yang's hand, as if a miracle could happen at any time. The Silent King seemed to want to take action, but the Sun King shook his head slowly, indicating that he would wait and see. If Yu Yang could really break the time reversal, then it would be useless to stop him now. If he couldn't, then it would be easy. No matter what Yu Yang did, it would be futile. There was no need to worry. Yu Yang didn't look at the Sun King. Instead, he acted like a great sage giving a lecture to his student. He shook his head and said, "Actually, this thing looks very difficult, but it's very simple to solve. You just have to use your brain a little to figure it out." Hearing what Yu Yang said, everyone's faces were full of tears. They thought to themselves, "I know you're a little smarter, but we're not fools. This kind of blow is really hard to bear." Little Wenli stood behind Yu Yang, silently guarding against any sudden attacks. She didn't seem to see the Sun King's ability to reverse time. Her fighting spirit was still high, and she wasn't affected at all. Facing the suspicious gazes of a large group of people, Yu Yang smiled and said, "I don't know if you guys know, but I'm curious. Why is the Sun King called the Sun King? Maybe you guys will answer that it's because the Sun King has the awesome sun clock. Then the second question is, why is the sun clock called the sun clock? Because it's like a sun and a clock. Yes, but I have a third question. Why does a clock have to be like a sun? If a clock only needs time to be accelerated or reversed, it only needs to be like a clock. Why does it need to be like a sun? It also emits a brilliant light, drowning the entire stone world in a sea of light, and there will be no more darkness. Why?" Hearing what Yu Yang said, the Sun King's expression seemed to change. Ming Ri Hao, Snake-Hair Demon Man, Revenge Domain Emperor, Wrath Domain Emperor, Divine Light Domain Emperor and other super rankers all revealed a thoughtful expression. As for those heaven rankers who were below the Green Wolf Emperor's level, they were all confused. They didn't understand why Yu Yang would doubt such an obvious question. It was because the sun clock's level was high, and its energy was strong, so it was like a sun. All war beasts would emit brilliant light when they reached an extremely powerful realm. It would be weird if it wasn't like that. Of course, this was a normal person's reaction, but Yu Yang had always been suspicious, so, you suspect that the reason why the sun god can cooperate with Master to reverse time is because of its light? Ming Rihao frowned and asked. If it can still work after being extinguished, then I won't suspect it. Yu Yang snorted with his hands clasped behind his back. Good suspicion. My sun clock indeed uses light to illuminate the target before it works. All abilities have certain prerequisite. Otherwise, I wouldn't be a demigod, but a real god. The Sun King honestly confirmed Yu Yang's suspicions. Then what's the use of knowing its light? The Divine Light Domain Emperor still shook his head. Although the sun clock was a special type guardian war beast, it was already so powerful that even the Divine Light Domain Emperor had to look up to it. It could not be destroyed. What could stop it from shining? As long as there was light. If it could reverse time, then wouldn't everything else be futile? Faced with this difficult problem that everyone was at a loss of what to do, Yu Yang condensed a black energy ball in his hand. It became bigger, and like a black hole, it continuously devoured the energy around it. In the end, even the light emitted by the sun clock was absorbed into it. Ming Rihao roared in ecstasy. Good! If light was needed for the sun clock's power to be effective, then wouldn't it be able to escape the torture of time reversal if it was not given a chance to shine? The Vengeance Domain Emperor was also overjoyed, but he still shook his head. No, this is not enough. This black hole still cannot escape the reversal of the sun clock, the time domain, and the law of time. The Freedom Queen also said, it must be maintained by the law of time, and it would be best if it had the protection of divine power. The Sun King slowly closed his eyes and calmed his emotions. He nodded and praised. You are indeed the genius youth who became the new prison emperor in just a few years. It was so easy for you to find the key point. I can't imagine what level you will reach if you are allowed to grow. Fortunately, I have surrounded you now. Otherwise, it would really be. If you had divine power, I believe I would be like the Empress and send you into the abyss of failure. It's a pity you don't have it yet. He snapped his fingers. The sun clock's time began to reverse. The black hole in Yu Yang's hand that was absorbing light shrunk rapidly, and finally returned to the state where Yu Yang was preparing to condense the black ball. Everything had returned to the beginning. Without the black hole absorbing light, the sun clock would continue to work. Even if he knew the key point, he wouldn't be able to break it. This sun clock was an invincible existence. There was no chance at all. The Vengeance Domain Emperor's eyes were filled with despair. As long as he had the sun clock, any effort would go down the drain. What could he do to resist the reversal of time? This was a task that could only be completed by a god. Ming Rihao pondered for a while and asked again, Is there any other way? If there isn't, I will shatter this space. You should use your three-realm compass to escape while the time domain and the law of time are in chaos. Ming Rihao thought of self-destruction. If he tried his best and self-destructed, it would cause an irreversible shattering of the void in a short period of time. All the heaven rankers present would be dead for sure. However, Yu Yang, who knew the key point of the Sun King's ability, should be able to escape. Yu Yang couldn't help but roll his eyes. Old Hao, can you stop thinking about suicide? I am trying to think of a way. Why are you in such a hurry? You still have a way? This time, even the Vengeance Domain Emperor was dumbfounded. I have about 3 or 4 ways, but I don't know which one is the best for now. Yu Yang was vexed as he counted his fingers. When Ming Rihao heard this, he immediately fell to the ground and almost vomited 3 liters of blood. Damn it, standing together with this brat really hurt his pride. This kind of pervert. Damn it, shouldn't he be thrown into a pond and drowned when he was born? Letting this kind of person live would be the biggest blow to the world. It's fine if he is smart, but why is he so perversely smart? It's already arrogant enough to think of a way, but you still want to think about which way to use? Will you die if you don't attack people like this? I really want to know how you broke the sun clock that is known to be unsolvable. The double-faced king laughed sinisterly. He didn't believe what Yu Yang said at all. The Sun King remained silent, as if he was thinking. The situation of the battle had always been in his control. With the Sun Clock, the Sun King could kill his enemies at any time, no matter if it was earlier or later. Controlling time was equivalent to controlling everything. The only thing that the Sun King was concerned about was how this Yang Yu Titan, who often created miracles, would break his sun clock today. If this Yang could break it, it meant that others could do it too. For example, Jiwuri, who was at the same level as him, and the other Heaven Realm great leaders. Could he even break the time reversal ability? The Sun King thought that if he was Yang, how would he break it? Yang enjoyed everyone's fanatical and worshipful gazes. This kind of worship was different from others. This was the kind of worship that came from an overwhelming victory with high intelligence. It was completely different from the kind of worship that came from brute force. I'm younger than you, I have less experience, and my status is lower than you, it doesn't matter, my intelligence is higher than yours. Actually, the sun clock's time reversal is not omnipotent. It has a condition. What everyone saw just now, the radiance is one. What is the basis of the radiance? It is to determine the target. In other words, if the target is not captured and the target is not specified, the sun clock will not work. For example, why did the Sun King lure us here? It is because this stone world is not big and is almost within the range of the sun clock's radiance. Furthermore, it is a semi-enclosed space. Hence, it formed an absolutely overwhelming power. On the other hand, if these conditions do not exist, for example, if there is an existence that the radiance cannot reach, then the sun clock will not be able to do anything, such as the black hole just now. Yang explained patiently. The black hole was already within the range of the sun clock's time reversal. Hence, even if I create a black hole, it will not work. My blood sea will also not succeed. The angry Domain Emperor saw hope and could not help but join in. You have not found the reason why it will not succeed. Yang criticized bluntly. The Sun Clock's most important ability is not the time reversal, but the Sun King's recovery inherent skill. It can be said that the Sun King's true strength is not the Sun Clock, but his recovery inherent skill. When the Sun Clock and the recovery inherent skill are combined, and through the time domain and the law of time, time can be reversed. Hence, just based on the sun clock alone, it is just a clock with a huge amount of energy. It is not a divine weapon or divine beast that can reverse time. How can the recovery inherent skill be broken? This time, even the Domain Emperor of Divine Light could not help but join in the discussion. The Sun King's recovery inherent skill is very strong, but it has a weakness. Even the Sun King was moved by Yang's words. Could it be that this was true? Could Yang, the new prison emperor of Tong Tian Tower, really have a way to break it? Could he really defeat the Sun King, who was unbelievably strong and had the ability to reverse time? Chapter 969. Everyone looked at Yang. They were waiting for him to give an earth-shattering answer. Unexpectedly, they heard him say, "The weakness of the recovery innate skill is that it's not resurrection, but recovery." Ming-Ri Hao fell to the ground. Alright, such an answer. This is also a weakness? What kind of weakness is this? The recovery innate skill is already scary enough. To restore everything, resurrection? How was he going to let them live? Ming-Ri Hao was speechless. He felt that his expectations of this kid were too high. After all, no matter how powerful Yang was, he had only lived for a few days. He was still too young. The Sun King's expression suddenly darkened. It was extremely ugly. The Silence King. For the first time, he revealed a shocked expression because he had never seen the Sun King lose his composure like this. Could it be that Yang was right? Was this really a weakness? The revenged Domain Emperor and the rest were confused. What shocked them the most was that even though Yang had already said the answer, they still couldn't understand it. The Green Wolf Empire King really wanted to jump out like an idiot, take off his clothes, run around naked, raise his middle finger, put one hand on his waist, and shout F***CK 108 times to the sky. However, with his identity, status, or ability, there was no place for him to speak here. Hence, no matter how depressed he was, he could only accept it. It was actually good that he couldn't understand it. It was safer to be less intelligent. Look at young Master Titan. Wasn't he just a little smarter? He was actually targeted by the Sun King, and he was being closely watched. That was truly depressing. If the Green Wolf Empire King knew that the Celestial Empire once had a AQ, he might even be happy. Well said. The Sun King was silent for a long time before nodding his head in affirmation. Then, he shook his head and sighed. Young Master Titan indeed has a pair of sharp eyes. It's really admirable. If we let you grow for a while longer, will there still be a place for us to stand? Is the recovery innate skill really a weakness? Even someone as smart as the double-faced king couldn't understand it. Honestly speaking, even the Silence King, who had always followed the Sun King, couldn't understand it. He had only heard the Sun King mention the regret of the recovery innate skill. Speak, quickly tell us. Although Ming Ri Hao knew that the decisive battle was imminent, his curiosity could simply kill a cat. He still wanted to ask for more details. The Sun King's restoration talent can restore everything in the time domain, but it can't restore life. In other words, the Sun King's ability was not the true reversal of time, or rather, it was not a complete reversal of time, but a reversal of time for a certain target. On the surface, it looks perfect, no different from a time reversal, but in fact, it has a huge weakness. If the life form is damaged during the process, such as being killed, then the recovery innate ability won't work. Yu Yang's words instantly made everyone understand that if an opponent was killed, the Sun King would not be able to resurrect the target. Time reversal could only restore damaged items. If that's the case, things might get interesting. Ming Ri Hao laughed out loud. Right now, he felt that if he were to self-destruct, he would probably be able to get some compensation. King Silent and Double-Faced King might not die from the explosion, but at the very least, they would be severely injured. None of the 8 generals under him would be able to escape. Even if you see through my ability, I won't let you have the chance to use it. The Sun King revealed a smile, as if he was in control of the whole situation again. Unless you have godly power or a powerful law power. The Vengeance Domain Monarch looked at Ming Ri Hao. Don't look at me. Ming Ri Hao expressed that he didn't have that ability. Even if he could use a small law power, it would be far inferior to the Sun King's time law. The Sun King relied on this to make a living. How could he compare? I might be able to help, but you have to promise me that you will take over the Tianhua region in the future and let the people here live a good life. I believe that you will be the best ruler. Although you are a little lazy, you are very kind. The Queen of Freedom suddenly stood out and said softly to Yu Yang, as long as you promise me, I will send you out of here. Ah, this is the first time I heard someone praise me for being kind. Thank you, but do I look like a soldier running away from the battlefield? Yu Yang laughed out loud and waved his hand, sending the Queen of Freedom flying 100 meters away mysteriously. Even if she uses her life as a sacrifice to ask for godly power to help you leave, you won't be able to escape. The Sun King was very sure. Let's fight. At this moment, Ming Ri Hao felt that there was a glimmer of hope, and his fighting spirit was boiling. However, he didn't hear Yu Yang's words, so he didn't know what to do. Should he charge forward or should he use some tricks? He looked at Yu Yang, hoping that this lad would assign everyone's tasks clearly. The Vengeance Domain Monarch also looked over. Then, the Enraged Domain Monarch looked over reluctantly and waited for Yu Yang's arrangement. Everyone's life and death depended on this lad's words. Only the Divine Light Domain Monarch's eyes were still flickering, and he couldn't make up his mind. After all, the Sun King was really too powerful. Even if Ming Rihao, the Vengeance Domain Monarch, and the Enraged Domain Monarch were to help, it would only be a drop in the bucket. Moreover, the Sun King had many strong soldiers and strong horses. Not to mention the Silent King, just the double-faced king alone could hold off the heavily injured Vengeance Domain Monarch and the Enraged Domain Monarch. If the Silent King could hold off Ming Rihao temporarily, the Sun King should be able to instantly kill Yu Yang, the Titan young master who only had a pair of sharp eyes but not enough strength. Yu Yang also waved his hand. Old Hao, step back. This is a battle between kings, it's not your turn yet. Ming Rihao was furious. What kind of king are you? If I am a small fry, you are at most a commoner. Yu Yang's answer was to get lost, and he added 2 more words. The Sun King also waved his hand, asking the Silent King and the double-faced king to step back with their 8 generals. Killing Ming Rihao, the Vengeance Domain Monarch and the others wasn't his main goal. Killing the new prison emperor of Tong Tian Tower, killing the rare genius Yu Yang, Titan Yu was his main goal. In order to achieve this goal, the Sun King wouldn't hesitate to pay any price. A young man who could see through his weakness in a short period of time must die. He must not let him have the chance to grow. This person must die in his own hands. Only then could he be at ease. Yu Yang's body suddenly emitted a black light that covered his entire body, blocking the light from the sun clock. Seeing that it was still the same move, the Sun King squinted his eyes. Like a needle or a dagger. The sun clock instantly reversed in the blink of an eye. Ming Rihao, the Vengeance Domain Monarch and the others didn't feel anything, but they could see that beside Yu Yang, there were countless electric currents that crackled, as if there was an invisible battle. In the end, it was the time reversal that won. When the sun clock returned to its original position, the black light on Yu Yang's body dissipated completely. You actually understood the power of a small law. The Sun King stared at Yu Yang sternly. There was a hint of fanaticism in his eyes. Compared to you, when I was your age, I was still feeling disheartened by my own abilities. Being able to kill a genius like you is even more satisfying than destroying a divine weapon. This is really exciting. Titan Prince, if you don't have a better idea, then the test will end here. I will send you on your way as soon as possible. I have a feeling that the longer I let you stay here, the greater the change will be. I will definitely not let you see through any more things. So please say your last words. Come. Yu Yang's answer was very simple. He waved his hand at the Sun King. The Sun King's eyes shone like stars. He stretched out his hand solemnly. With a finger, a ray of light shot down from the sun clock and headed straight for Yu Yang. Heavy Crown, who truly possessed the special ability of shadow shift, appeared above Yu Yang's head in a flash, forcefully blocking the attack of the light wave. He revealed a bitter smile in the sky. There's no other way. With my strength, this is all I can do. The Sun King snapped his fingers. Time, 100 years have passed. Zhongguan screamed and fell to the ground. His whole body withered at a speed visible to the naked eye. It wasn't because of aging due to the passing of 100 years, but because the passing of 100 years had caused his body to overuse energy. Without any way to replenish it, he could no longer maintain his body's need. Thus, he became a skinny, hungry ghost. That kind of hunger wasn't just food, but also the crazy hunger caused by all kinds of fatigue. I didn't expect that I would starve to death. Zhongguan gasped for breath and closed his eyes weakly. No! He Tu and the white horse galloped out and howled in grief. 2 light beams shot towards Yu Yang. Although they saw Zhongguan's miserable state, they still rushed over without hesitation, hoping that before they died, Yu Yang would have more time to prepare. It would be best if he could see through another weakness of the Sun King's ability and turn the tables. The Sun King was expressionless. He looked at Yu Yang and said slowly, As long as I snap my fingers, no matter if it's 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years, it won't be a problem. No matter how many people protect you, it won't help. Maybe you want to use their sacrifice to find my weakness, but it's too late and your strength is too weak. The gap between our strength is a gap that no matter how much wisdom and sacrifice you make, it can't be eliminated. So, after the third light wave, everything will be over. He pointed his finger, and the sun clock emitted thousands of light beams. Whether it was the guards who rushed out to block, the heaven rankers like Green Wolf who wanted to hide in the astral world, or Ming Ri Hao and the avenging domain emperor who stood still, they were all hit by the light beams. Now, as long as the Sun King snapped his fingers, time would pass for 100 years, 1,000 years, or even 10,000 years. No matter how strong they were, they couldn't withstand the passage of time. Everyone looked at Yu Yang for the last time. Life or death, fight or retreat. It was all up to him. If he couldn't do anything, then everyone would accept their fate. If he still insisted on fighting, then everyone would fight with their lives. Even if it was futile, they had to fight to the end. Tell me, what should we do? Ming Ri Hao let out his final roar. You don't have to do anything. I said, it's time for the king to fight the king. You small fries go to the side, it's none of your business. Yu Yang sent He Tu and Bai Ma flying with a kick. He stretched out his hand again, and with incomparable provocation, hooked his finger and shouted at the Sun King, "Come!" The people on the Sun King's side were completely enraged. You really won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. You're courting death. Even the Silent King, who had the most endurance, showed anger for the first time. The Sun King, on the other hand, was extremely calm. He gently snapped his fingers. Time, 100 years pass. He Tu, Bai Ma, and the other heaven rankers all cried and fell to the ground. Trash-like leader Jean and Chief Butler Yi, who didn't have the strength of a heaven ranker, directly fainted. They would probably die with just a breath. On the contrary, the Queen of Freedom seemed to feel nothing. She quietly floated at her original position, and her expression was the same as before. Ming Ri Hao rubbed his stomach. He looked at the obviously weakened Fu Qiu and the others, and slowly shook his head. With their strength, they couldn't escape the effect of the passage of time. Although 100 years would not cause them to fall immediately, the effect was still considerable. It felt as if someone had been sealed for 100 years and had just woken up. The double-faced king and the others wanted to mock him. But the Sun King's eyes suddenly widened. They were filled with astonishment, because the only person who wasn't affected at all was Yu Yang, who was standing at the head of the crowd. How could this kid not be affected by the passage of time? Humans were the weakest when it came to the influence of time. I'm not affected by time because the sun clock, the time domain, and the time law have no effect on me. The only thing I'm a little afraid of is your recovery inherent skill. It's your strongest skill. As for your time law, to me, it's just a joke. I comprehended it from the gate of life and death. I, who have reached the innate supremacy realm and can control my own unique law. Although my body isn't a god's body, my realm is comparable to a god's body. How can I be affected by the time law created by your will? In my world, everything is decided by me. No matter if it's space, time, or life. If you want to defeat me, these are far from enough. Sun King, show me your true abilities. I really want to challenge you. How will I improve by killing a demigod of the quasi-god realm? I'm really looking forward to it. As you wish. The Sun King's face slightly twisted. An anger that he had never felt before ignited in his heart. No matter how careful he was, he had still severely underestimated this young man. He was far more terrifying than he had imagined. Even a power like the time law couldn't kill him? It was no wonder that the Nine Lights Empress had fallen at the hands of this young man in the end. The Sun King took a deep breath and stared at his hands. Before I fight you, I'll clear away the obstacles on the battlefield. This way, you should be able to use your full strength to fight me. The Sun King raised his hands. He pointed them toward the sky. A brilliant light blossomed. It was as if a deity had descended and illuminated the world. Time, flow for 10,000 years. Ming-Ri Hao felt the strength of his body rapidly weakening. At the last moment, he anxiously shouted, "You annoying fellow, remember to take care of my younger sister." Time, flow for 10,000 years. Ming-Ri Hao suddenly heard an inconceivable voice beside his ears. What? Chapter 970. Unknowingly, a sun clock appeared above Yu Yang's head as well. It looked almost like the real thing. The only difference was that it was much smaller. It didn't look too mighty but rather cute. Little Wan Li, who was standing behind Yu Yang, looked at it with sparkling eyes. She seemed to like the cute design of the sun clock. Of course, it didn't matter what the design was. The most important thing was its ability. This cute-looking sun clock actually had the ability to reverse time. Within 100 meters around Yu Yang, Ming-Ri Hao and the rest jumped up. They felt energy flowing back into their bodies, and they were instantly filled with energy. However, a few heaven rankers who were 100 meters away from Yu Yang and wanted to escape had already died of exhaustion. They had turned into dried corpses. "You have a sun clock too?" Ming-Ri Hao was dumbfounded. He felt that his brain wasn't strong enough. No, this is impossible." The hanging man opposite him screamed frantically. "Illusion." The calmest poet saw that something was amiss. "It's not an illusion, it's real." Double-faced King snorted. If it was just an illusion, it wouldn't be able to restore Ming-Ri Hao and the rest. The sun clock was definitely fake, but the ability to reverse time was real. Sun King's gaze was cold as he stared at Yu Yang for a long time. That feeling was like a lion king staring at a young lion that was about to grow up and threaten its position. Other than the jealousy and anger that came from the depths of its heart, there was also the unwillingness to accept the fact that time was unforgiving. It had put in so much effort to achieve what it had today. Yet, this young man was already catching up to it in just a few years. If it didn't kill this young man, would it still be able to see his back in the future? Yu Yang looked very relaxed on the surface, but it wasn't the case in his heart. Although he had temporarily dispelled the Sun Clock and Time Domain's time elapse, this was just one of Sun King's thousands of attacks. Sun King's next attack. Would there be two simple moves like Time Elapse and Time Elapse? Ming-Ri Hao stretched out his hand and touched the sun clock above Yu Yang's head. A look of shock flashed across his face. Is this real? Not an illusion? With Ming-Ri Hao's touch, even the Revenge Region Emperor and the others were puzzled. There was no reason for Yu Yang to have the Sun King's guardian beast. Could it be that this kid's innate talent was replication? Even if it was, it would only be a copy of its outer appearance. There was no way it could replicate the sun clock's true abilities. "You're all pigs." Yu Yang gave everyone a disdainful middle finger. Humph! The furious Domain Emperor and the Xinguang Domain Emperor were furious. Apart from Yu Yang, no one had ever dared to belittle and humiliate them like this. In view of Yu Yang's life-saving grace, and the Sun King's covetous eyes, they could only endure it. As I said, the Sun King doesn't control time. If he controlled time, we would have died long ago. He could kill us at any point in time, such as before we came in, after we left, or at any time in between. If the Sun King controlled time, it would be meaningless for us to do anything. It would also be meaningless for him to fight with us, because he, who controlled time, doesn't need to do that. He wants to force us to stay here and get rid of us. This proves that the Sun King doesn't control time, but a very small space. The time domain created by the combination of his recovery, inherent skill and his guardian beast, the Sun Clock, is a special energy field. In order to strengthen this energy field, he has also comprehended the time domain. Yu Yang criticized them bluntly. You all place too much emphasis on the appearance in front of you. A true expert should have an unwavering will. In front of a mystery, they should always maintain their individuality and explore the truth of the matter directly. Unlike you, who are all panicking in front of the appearance. How can you still look like an expert? Unwavering will, maintain individuality? Ming Ri Hao's face brightened, as if he had understood something. In Tong Tian Tower there is a door of life and death. All the warriors who pass through it must understand what is reality and what is reality. Actually, the flow of everything in the world, including time, what does it have to do with you? As experts of the honorable realm, we are like demigod. We stand between heaven and earth and look down on all living things. Life and death, prosperity and decline, what does it have to do with us? Yu Yang struck the iron while it was hot and shouted at Ming Ri Hao. I understand now. Ha ha ha, I understand now. Ming Ri Hao roared towards the sky. He punched the ground with both of his fists, causing the entire stone world to shake and almost collapse. A blazing light that was comparable to the scorching sun exploded from his body, causing his entire body to become bright golden. His 10-meter-tall body was as tall as a mountain, and the energy light pillar above his head soared into the sky like a huge dragon soaring into the heavens. Those who saw Ming Ri Hao could feel that he wasn't depressed because of his previous setback. Instead, under the enlightenment of Yu Yang, his inner state directly increased, and he completely recovered to his peak battle state. Moreover, the Sun King could feel that Ming Ri Hao's realm was much higher than before. Under the enlightenment of Yu Yang and the stimulation of Ming Ri Hao's improvement, the Vengeance Domain Emperor's eyes became brighter and brighter. The Vengeance Domain Emperor's eyes became brighter and brighter. His aura exploded and energy gushed out. Then, he laughed out loud. That's right. Although I can't change the time of the sun clock, my will is indestructible. My revenge isn't over yet. I definitely can't die. Today, even if I have to face a strong enemy like the Sun King, I will still take revenge until the end. A burst of silver light spread out from the Vengeance Domain Emperor's body. On the other side, a horrifying sea of blood was forming, and it was even faster than the Vengeance Domain Emperor's silver light. Other than the Divine Light Domain Emperor, Ming Ri Hao, the Vengeance Domain Emperor, and the Wrath Domain Emperor were all enlightened under the enlightenment of Yu Yang, and they broke free from the Sun King's time domain one after another. I was wrong. I shouldn't have let Ming Ri Hao, the Vengeance Domain Emperor, and the Wrath Domain Emperor come. If I didn't want to kill all of you at once, if I had attacked the moment you arrived at Green Willow City, the current situation wouldn't have happened. The Sun King took a deep breath and calmed down. He sighed with a little regret. Now, I completely understand. Yu Yang, Titan you are the kind of abnormal genius who grows in battles. If you grew up in a peaceful and worry-free environment, you wouldn't be able to achieve anything. It was the difficult battles that forced and pressured you to grow. It was this dangerous fate that pushed you onto the path of rapid growth. You grew in every battle, and after every battle, you would be reborn and enter a new realm. I really shouldn't have instigated the Nine Lights Empress to attack the Tower of Babel. If I could, I would have helped you clear all the obstacles in the Tower of Babel. That way, you might never reach your current realm in your entire life. I was wrong. For a young man like you who grows stronger with every battle, I, the Sun King, will not let you leave alive even if I have to pay any price. Silent King, go back and report this information to the Elders Group of the Deities Templar and the Great Hall Master of the Eastern Temple. If I can't kill Yu Yang, I will use my life as the price to seal him in this stone world. Once the seal is completed, no one is allowed to come close. I will never give this young man a chance to fight and grow again. The Silent King slowly knelt down after hearing this. The double-faced king and his 8 generals also knelt down in front of the Sun King. In order to eliminate the young man in front of him, the Sun King was willing to give up everything, even his life. His attitude shocked Ming Ri Hao and the others. Could it be that Yu Yang could really threaten the central shrine? Even a powerful person like the Sun King was willing to use his life to seal him? This was a privilege that even the Heaven Realm giants could not enjoy. Could it be that this young man's threat had far surpassed that of the Heaven Realm giants? The Silent King kowtowed again and again. He looked deeply at Yu Yang, as if he wanted to remember this young man forever. Then, he slowly got up and prepared to leave the stone world and return to the central shrine to report to his superiors. The Vengeance Domain Emperor pulled out the Divine Light Sword and pounced at him like an arrow. I can't beat the Sun King, but I can stop you from leaving. Take this. Before the double-faced king could stop the Vengeance Domain Emperor, the blood sea of the enraged Domain Emperor had already covered his head. Ming Ri Hao stared at the Divine Light Domain Emperor. Now, only this guy had no reaction. He was still watching the battle quietly, as if he wanted to stay out of it until the end. The Silent King did not look back. He continued to walk away step by step. When the Vengeance Domain Emperor's Divine Light Sword slashed at the top of his head, he raised his right hand and blocked the sword. The starlight on the Vengeance Domain Emperor's body dimmed, and he retreated while vomiting blood. However, the Silent King was unharmed. His golden right hand was unharmed, and his footsteps did not even slow down. Ming Ri Wu's eyes were wide open. Even if he gave his all, he could not make the Vengeance Domain Emperor vomit blood in one move. Moreover, the Silent King was still in a defensive state. How could he defeat the Vengeance Domain Emperor with just the counterforce of his body? Which one was the Sun King? The Vengeance Domain Emperor's eyes were also filled with disbelief. Ming Ri Wu rushed over and punched out with all his might. The entire stone world shook under his attack. As for the Silent King, he only stopped in his tracks and straightened his body. He didn't even turn his head. His right hand moved backward and received Ming Ri Wu's full-powered attack. After this collision, the Silent King took 3 steps forward. Ming Ri Wu took a big step back. The shock wave almost engulfed the entire stone world, destroying everything. The hands of the sun clock above the Sun King's head turned back by 3 seconds. Ming Ri Wu and the Silent King's bodies did not move, but their energy disappeared instantly. It was as if they had never collided. On the ground, there were only the 3 deep steps that the Silent King took and the big step that Ming Ri Wu took back. With the Silent King's powerful strength, even if Ming Ri Wu had a slight advantage, he would not be able to stop him. The Silent King's departure could not be stopped at all. Ming Ri Wu looked at Yu Yang, meaning to ask him what should he do? Let him go. We can't even care about our lives anymore, so why would we care about the information? Yu Yang kept looking at the Sun King, and the Sun King also looked at Yu Yang with full concentration. He did not care about what was happening around him. All right, then I will take the lead for you, Ming Ri Wu roared. His voice was like a clap of thunder that resounded through the entire stone world. He gave up on stopping the Silent King and turned to charge towards the Sun King. After getting rid of the restriction of the time domain and the time law, Ming Ri Wu decided to test the Sun King's strength first. At the very least, he would let Yu Yang take a look and see if he could find any flaws. Following closely behind Ming Ri Wu was the Domain Emperor, who also had the same thought. The energy storm created by the 2 super experts tore apart the surrounding space and surpassed time. Their fists and the light divine sword almost hit the Sun King, who was looking straight at Yu Yang. The Sun King was still staring at Yu Yang. His body seemed to tremble slightly. Ming Ri Wu felt an irresistible force exploding in his chest. Instantly, the world spun around him, and he flew out uncontrollably. When his feet sank deep into the ground to maintain his balance, he raised his head and saw that the Domain Emperor, who was following closely behind him, was already pressed onto the ground by the Sun King. The Domain Emperor's entire body was pressed into the stone, and he could not even struggle. Ming Ri Wu was so angry that he wanted to curse, but when he opened his mouth, a stream of blood spurted out from his throat. So this was the Sun King's true strength. Did you see any flaws? The Sun King's eyes were still staring at Yu Yang. He never looked away for even a fraction of a second. In his mind, only this enigmatic young man was his true rival. Chapter 971. I saw it. There's a flaw when you use the time ability. You can't move, Yu Yang answered. Do you have a way to break it? Sun King asked again. No, Yu Yang answered honestly. The two of them were chatting like friends, but Ming Ri Hao, the Revenge Domain Emperor, and the others who were at the side all shuddered when they heard their conversation. This was a true life and death battle. No matter how the battlefield changed, the two only stared at each other. They searched for each other's weakness, looking for a chance to give the enemy a fatal blow. They didn't attack each other directly, but it didn't mean they didn't fight. On the contrary, this kind of battle of wits was the scariest. If one lost, he would lose his entire life. Yu Yang looked at Sun King. Suddenly, he waved at Ming Ri Hao, an avenged domain emperor, who was struggling to get up. Go. The battle here has nothing to do with you. Today, only one person can walk out of the stone world alive. It could be me or Sun King. Ming Ri Hao glanced at Yu Yang, then at the expressionless Sun King. He tried to move to the exit of the stone world. Sun King only stared at Yu Yang. He didn't care about Ming Ri Hao's departure. Ming Ri Hao, who was a level 8 innate supremacy, was just a small fish in Sun King's eyes. The real big fish was Yu Yang, who hadn't grown up yet. As for the other heaven rankers, they were just small fries. He didn't care. As long as he could kill Yu Yang, the Sun King didn't mind letting go 100 Ming Ri Haos and 100 vengeful domain emperors, because these were existences that didn't pose a fatal threat. As long as the Central Divine Palace needed them, they could kill Ming Ri Hao or vengeful domain emperors at any time. When he realized that Yu Yang had a pair of eyes that could see through everything and grow infinitely in battle, Sun King decided to kill this terrifying young man. The Sun King decided to kill Yu Yang, this scary young man. At all costs. Am I really leaving? Before Ming Ri Hao left, he shouted at Yu Yang. Your Majesty? Double-faced King and the 8 generals looked at Sun King nervously. Should he let him go or stay? Let them go. You guys go out as well. Wait for me outside the Sea of Storms. In the eyes of the Sun King, there was only one opponent, Yu Yang. As long as this brat didn't leave, Ming Ri Hao's escape wouldn't be a problem at all. Furthermore, so what if Yu Yang stopped Ming Ri Hao? This brat had already seen through the Sun King's ability. He would definitely have a way to send Ming Ri Hao and the others out of the stone world. Yes. The double-faced king bowed deeply, and was the first to leave with his 8 generals. Of course, he wouldn't let Ming Ri Hao and the others leave the stone world. Whatever the Sun King didn't have the time to do, they would do it even if they had to risk their lives. In the stormy ocean, there was still the Lion King and the Golden Crown King. Even if they were to surround and kill Ming Ri Hao, the Region Emperor and the other heaven rankers, it would not be a problem. Ming Ri Hao was slightly injured, and the Emperor of Vengeance was injured one after another. Especially the last attack, he was already severely injured, and he did not have much combat power left. The enraged Emperor was fought by the Lion King, and the Divine Light Emperor might betray them at the last minute. Even if he did not, he would not dare to bite back and become the Divine Hall's enemy. As for the remaining people, the Liberty Queen had no fighting power, the snake-haired Dugu Changfeng was seriously injured and on the verge of death, and the Azure Wolf Emperor and the other heaven-rank powerhouses weren't a match for the 8 generals. Even outside, except for the Divine Light Emperor, the only possibility was that Ming Ri Hao would escape. After some calculations, the double-faced king decided to wait outside and set up an inescapable net to capture all the remaining targets in one go. Seeing Yu Yang's insistence and the Sun King not stopping them, the Heaven Rankers felt a sense of hope. Although they knew that there would be a fierce battle outside, it was still better than facing the Sun King. Facing the Sun King, even the Emperor of Vengeance wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow. Facing the Sun King, they would definitely die. Definitely die. The battle situation outside the stormy ocean might be very serious, but if it was messed up, there might still be a few who could escape. Everyone had the mentality of being lucky. With this mentality, everyone rushed to the entrance of the Stone World's passage. The severely injured and weak snake-hair demon man was also carried by Head Jean. When Chief Manager Yi tried to persuade her, the Liberty Queen waved her hand, indicating that she wanted to stay. Returning to their original state, Zhong Guan and the others bowed to bid farewell to Yu Yang. They took the lead and rushed out, taking the initiative to lure the enemies away. Even the newly joined Feng Ji and Jin Yun's eyes were red. "Young master, we will wait for you outside. You must come out." Ming Ri Hao gave each of them a slap, so wordy. "Instead of worrying about this brat, why don't you worry about your skinny bones? Just try your best to survive." Yu Yang didn't say anything. He just waved his hand. He was stared at by the Sun King, but he didn't even dare to blink. If he let his guard down even a little, Yu Yang felt that the Sun King would take the opportunity to kill him in one move. With Ming Ri Hao at the front and the Vengeance Domain Emperor at the back, the entire team left the Stone World and returned to the collapsed spatial passageway outside. Before entering the Sea of Storms, Ming Ri Hao suddenly stopped and swept a glance at the Heaven Rankers. "You guys can go. Who do you think I am? I am his big brother. As a big brother, I have to act like a big brother, right?" The Emperor of Vengeance thought for a while and advised, "You also know that even if you stay, you can't help him." Ming Ri Hao laughed. "Yes, I can't help him. But I didn't say that I would help him. I see that he is so pitiful. Can't I stay and accompany him? If I don't stay, that brat will definitely die. If I stay, there might be a 1 in 10,000 chance." The blood light on the Emperor of Vengeance shone brightly and he scolded. "After thousands of years, you still haven't changed at all. You are still so annoying." Ming Ri Hao turned and walked towards the Stone World. "I don't intend to change. So what if I am annoying?" On the back of the King of Still Wind, who was rescued by Chief Butler Yi, the dying beauty seemed to have glanced at Ming Ri Hao, or at the same time, it seemed to be a casual glance at the surroundings after waking up. When Ming Ri Hao's mountain-like figure disappeared without a trace, the Emperor of Divine Light region immediately turned into a ray of gold and disappeared into the entrance of the space passage in the stormy ocean. Seeing this guy leaving in such a hurry, the Emperor of Vengeance region's expression changed. "Oh no, this guy is colluding with the enemy. Forget it, he is that kind of person. Later on, I will try my best to hold back the strongest Lion King and Golden Crown King. You guys run as far as you can. If the Divine Beast Titan Yu and the Earth Divine Weapon are still fighting, you guys still have a chance. If the battle is already over, then try your best to find a target to perish together with. Vengeance, go. The only one who still has a chance to avenge us is you." A bitter smile appeared on the snake-haired devil's face. "We are injured and weak. Where can we run to? Eternal Wind, it's all because of me. If it wasn't for me, you and Titan you wouldn't have come to Tianhua region." The Emperor of Vengeance region patted the snake-haired devil's shoulder and apologized. "Actually, I came because I was curious about the divine body, not because of you. This is fate. Vengeance, go. I still have a special ability that can hold back the double-faced king for a minute. You guys take the opportunity while the Lion King and Golden Crown King are still fighting with Grey Wolf and the rest. You can avenge us when you have the chance." The snake-haired devil didn't count the Emperor of Vengeance region as part of his combat power. He knew. The Emperor of Vengeance region would definitely leave immediately. The Emperor of Vengeance region snorted and didn't say anything. He just strode towards the exit of the tunnel. The Emperor of Vengeance region led the crowd to follow. They had to break through while they still had the most power. Otherwise, no one would survive. When they returned to the storm sea, the scene of the sea in front of them made even the Emperor of Vengeance region tremble. Because the Silent King didn't leave at all. He held the Divine Light region Emperor with one hand and stared coldly at the Emperor of Vengeance region and his people. Standing beside the Silent King, there was also the Double-Faced King, the Lion King, the Golden Crown King and the 8 generals. As for the Sky Execution, the Dragon Emperor, the Emperor of the Underworld and Grey Wolf, who still had hope, they had all fallen. The corpses of the divine beasts floated all over the place, and a large amount of blood dyed the storm sea red. "Where's Yu Yang?" The Sky Execution struggled in the blood. There was no part of his body that wasn't injured, and the blood dyed him red. Not far from death. The Double-Faced King laughed sinisterly. "Come, let's go in." The Sky Execution roared and struggled to pull the Dragon Emperor, who was also covered in wounds, out of the sea. Then, he carried the unconscious Emperor of the Underworld on his back and flew shakily towards the entrance of the space tunnel. Under the watchful eyes of everyone, the Sky Execution, who was on the verge of death, still wanted to go in to help the hope that he had protected. The Double-Faced King didn't use the demonic scythe. He only used one finger and pointed gently. An energy beam shot out and directly pierced through the Emperor of the Underworld and the Sky Execution. The Sky Execution's body swayed. He could no longer hold on. Slowly, he fell. The Dragon Emperor roared in anger, revealing his bony arm. His bloodied palm supported the Sky Execution's body and supported the Sky Execution, who was on the verge of fainting. "We are warriors from Tong Tian Tower. You can kill us, but don't think of defeating us. Before we die, don't think of stopping us. Don't think of stopping us from fighting. Our will is eternal and will never be extinguished. Get up." The Silent King's eyes were cold. How could such a weak warrior have the will of an innate elder? If the Tong Tian Tower wasn't destroyed, it would really be a threat. The second beam. The third beam of energy shot out. The Dragon Emperor gritted his teeth and supported the weight of the 3. He would rather die than fall. Blood spurted out from the 3 of them like a bloody waterfall, crazily splashing on the stormy sea. Because of the Dragon Emperor and Sky Execution's will that were harder than steel, the stormy sea around them was suppressed to an exceptionally calm state. There were no waves at all. The Dragon Emperor forcefully supported the Sky Execution and the Emperor of the Underworld. He gritted his teeth and continued forward with his own strength. Blood splattered all along the way. The 3 people who walked on the waves dyed the sea red. Boring persistence. The Double-Faced King waved his demonic scythe. Thousands of crescent moonlight fangs covered the sky and swallowed the Dragon Emperor and Sky Execution in an instant. A wolf howled. The entire surface of the sea turned into the shape of a wolf's head. It opened its huge mouth and swallowed the millions of crescent moonlight fangs in one gulp. A dog that couldn't even cover its bones emerged from the stormy sea. There wasn't an inch of undamaged skin on its body. Its bones could be seen at any time. It looked like it would die with just a breath. However, this half-dead dog could still jump out of the sea and follow the Dragon Emperor and Sky Execution. Its tail was still dragging the divine weapon Tao Tai, whose consciousness was in a mess and whose body was so heavy that it couldn't be dragged out of the water. The Double-Faced King was stunned. "They aren't dead yet?" The Lion King and the Golden Crown King looked at each other. They shook their heads and sighed helplessly. "That is a dog that can't be killed no matter how hard we beat it." They didn't know how many methods they had used and how much effort they had put in to kill this divine beast that hadn't fully grown up yet. However, they didn't get what they wanted. Sky Execution spat out a mouthful of blood. He handed the Emperor of the Underworld over to the Dragon Emperor. He straightened his back and raised his head. He bombarded his chest with the electric ball, which had already stopped beating due to severe injuries. He madly electrocuted his heart to make it beat again. The heartbeat resumed. Sky Execution's eyes burned with endless fighting spirit. The thunderbolts and lightning also returned to his body. Although he was severely injured and on the verge of death, and if it were someone else, they would have fallen to the ground and died, he didn't seem to feel anything. He was still as proud as a spear. He clenched his fist. He ignored the gazes of the audience and the strong enemies surrounding him. He took the lead and walked toward the entrance of the space tunnel without hesitation. He swore to support Yu Yang, who was fighting alone. When he and the Dragon Emperor, who was carrying the Emperor of the Underworld, walked past the Revenge Domain Emperor and the others, the Revenge Domain Emperor and the snake-haired Devil Man found that their hearts were trembling. In terms of power, God's Retribution and his companions were not the strongest. However, their fighting spirit was unparalleled, and no one could match it. The warriors of the Tower of Babel had always been terrifyingly strong. Why were they so strong? It could be seen from Sky Execution. Because these were warriors that couldn't be defeated no matter what. Even if they killed him, they wouldn't yield to his will. He might die in battle, but he would never be defeated. These were the warriors of the Tower of Babel. Not only Sky Execution, but also his companions. There was also the dog that didn't look like a divine beast. There was also the hidden Yu Yang, who even the Sun King had to go all out to kill at all costs. Chapter 972. Stone World. When Ming Ri Hao returned to the Stone World, he felt as if he had gone through a battle that lasted for 3 days and 3 nights. The environment here did not change. Everything around him was as good as new under the reversal of time. There were no traces of battle at all. However, Yu Yang and Sun King, who were originally standing and looking at each other, had completely changed. Yu Yang was already lying on the ground with one arm supporting him. Blood was dripping from his mouth. There were more than 100 wounds on his body, and they were of different depths. It was as if he had been injured by 10 different kinds of sharp weapons. Ming Ri Hao was not surprised that Yu Yang was knocked down by Sun King. What was surprising was, Sun King's right hand was also dripping blood. Drop by drop, it flowed from his sleeves and flowed down his fingers like a bloodworm. Finally, it dripped down slowly. Yu Yang, this brat, could actually injure Sun King? The shock and astonishment in Ming Ri Hao's heart had reached its limit. When he fought against the Sun King, he was knocked down to the ground without being able to withstand a single move. No matter how strong Yu Yang was, he wouldn't be stronger than him. How did he do it? Could it be that he could defeat Sun King? Why did you come back? Yu Yang looked at Ming Ri Hao and scolded him. Are you an idiot? You knew that you would die if you came back. Show off. Ming Ri Hao replied and laughed loudly. I came back to see if you are dead or not. Ming Ri Hao, with your talent and ability, you should be able to do more than that. Show me your true abilities. I also want to see what kind of abilities the bravest Ming Ri Hao of the Ming clan has to be able to make the later generations talk about him so enthusiastically. Sun King slowly raised his bleeding right hand, as if he had just realized that he was injured. His expression did not change as he looked at Ming Ri Hao, who had returned. This was the first time he moved his gaze away from Yu Yang and looked at another person. Brat, if I don't show you, you will really think that I, Old Hao, am inferior to you. Ming Ri Hao did not look at Sun King, but spoke to Yu Yang instead. A resplendent summoning grimoire. He floated in the air. The beam of light pointed straight to the sky. Ming Ri Hao's body emitted countless rays of golden light. He, who had completely recovered to his peak state, looked as mighty as a deity. In the sky, at the highest point of the light pillar, a sun was born. It instantly shattered, and an extremely fast expanding shadow jumped out from the shattered sun. It grew bigger and bigger. When this golden shadow landed on the ground, it had already surpassed the height of its master, Ming Ri Hao, by 10 meters. When Ming Ri Hao stretched out his hand and pressed it on the body of this golden shadow, the body of the golden shadow expanded crazily under the attention of Yu Yang and the Sun King. In a few seconds, it had already grown to a size of 30 meters. The golden shadow continued to grow larger, and the outline of its body gradually became clearer. Gradually, it became exactly the same as its master, Ming Ri Hao. However, it was 10 times bigger. Ming Ri Wu Yu felt that the golden shadow was growing too slowly, so he raised his other hand towards the sky. The guardian beast that looked like him also did the same action, as if it wanted to raise the sky with one hand. A kind of energy that had never appeared before enveloped the area of several hundred meters around Ming Ri Hao. It was colorless and formless. However, even the Sun King furrowed his brows secretly. This was because this formless and colorless domain of power actually blocked the light emitted by the sun bell and the time domain like a barrier. It formed a unique space of energy around Ming Ri Hao's body. Ming Ri Hao roared like thunder. He clenched his fist tightly and released the power of the minor code that he had used all of his strength. It surrounded the space of energy and turned this domain of power into an independent space that was completely controlled by Ming Ri Hao's will. In this independent space that was controlled by Ming Ri Hao, the golden shadow grew to a height of 100 meters. Its body was like a mountain as it stood in front of Yu Yang and the Sun King. Yu Yang stood under the feet of the golden shadow and looked up for a while. He asked curiously, "This guardian beast is really a little strange. You don't know what I'm talking about, right? This is my guardian beast Kwa Fu, a humanoid beast with basic intelligence. With the support of my giant inherent skill and a sky domain, it is practically invincible. It is much stronger than your little lowly Lamia, who only has a cute appearance." Ming Ri Hao boasted to Yu Yang. Tsk. Yu Yang's reply was a direct disdain towards a certain bitter uncle's sour grapes mentality. Humph. Little Wen Li was also very dissatisfied with Ming Ri Hao's bragging. She raised her pink little fist and waved it angrily to express her dissatisfaction. "There's no need to go all out. You can just watch from the side. Even if it's the sun, I can still shatter it." Kwa Fu chasing the sun. Although Ming Ri Hao said that, in reality, he definitely had to join hands with Yu Yang to attack together. Even if he had the hidden Kwa Fu, he probably wouldn't have an easy time fighting against the Sun King. Kwa Fu raised its giant fist and used its godly strength to sweep away thousands of soldiers. It dived towards the Sun King in front of him. Ming Ri Hao's golden fist was even faster than Kwa Fu's. It had already reached the Sun King's face. The Sun King looked at Yu Yang. He didn't care about Ming Ri Hao and Kwa Fu's pincer attack. He just slowly closed his eyes. 2 fists that could completely destroy the world landed on the Sun King's body at almost the same time. One fist descended from the sky, and the other fist shot upwards like a rocket. Facing the Sun King, who didn't even try to defend himself or counterattack, Ming Ri Hao not only used all his strength, he also used the ultimate strength that surpassed his peak state. The Sun King's face was dented by Ming Ri Hao's punch. The hairstyle on his head was also severely deformed. His body was like a nail that was hit by a heavy punch. It was nailed straight into the ground of the stone world. Such a fierce attack. It actually didn't do anything? Ming Ri Hao was completely shocked. He originally thought that by using his hidden strength and Kwa Fu, he would be able to shake the Sun King's body. He didn't expect that it would be completely useless. When the fist left the Sun King's face, Ming Ri Hao realized that nothing had happened to the Sun King. His complexion was the same as before. Even his hairstyle wasn't messed up. If he used this kind of strength to attack the Wrath Domain Emperor or the Divine Light Domain Emperor, they would probably kneel on the ground and vomit blood. Even if the Sun King was much stronger than a Domain Emperor, It was impossible for him to not be injured at all. Ming Ri Hao retreated a few steps weakly and shouted in disbelief. How is this possible? Unknowingly, Yu Yang had appeared behind him. He supported Ming Ri Hao and said, "It's impossible to defeat the Sun King with just strength. He has the sun clock and the time domain, so he can't do anything to our bodies. However, his time domain and his body can have a beneficial effect on them. In order to hit the Sun King and injure him, we need to use a kind of strength that the sun clock and the time domain can't eliminate." "Why didn't you say so earlier?" Ming Ri Hao was about to faint. "Why didn't you say so earlier that it was useless to hit the Sun King with strength? Isn't this a waste of strength?" "I already said it from the beginning. It's you who didn't listen to me." Yu Yang snorted angrily. "That's right. Since the beginning, young Master Titan has been telling us the weaknesses of my ability. It's a pity that your realm isn't high enough. You can't understand the truth." The Sun King's lips curled up into a victorious smile. "What should we do now?" Ming Ri Hao felt that they would definitely lose if this went on. Once the Sun King made his move, he and Yu Yang would definitely be tortured to death. "I haven't thought of a good way yet." Yu Yang indicated that he needed some time. "Oh my God!" Ming Ri Hao felt like crying. "You can hold on for an hour. I think I can think of a way after that." Yu Yang thought for a while and gave him a time limit. "Let's not talk about an hour. Even 10 minutes is too much for me." Ming Ri Hao felt his head going numb when he heard the time limit. Please allow me to correct you. It's hard to say for young Master Titan. I'm a little worried about his final hidden strength. As for you, Ming Ri Hao, although you are very strong, that's only in the eyes of others. Unfortunately for me, who possesses the sun clock, recovery innate skill, time domain, and time law, you have overestimated yourself." The Sun King denied sincerely and said, "You won't be able to hold on for even 1 minute, let alone 10 minutes. In 1 minute, I can reverse the flow of time and make it longer than 100 or 1,000 years. Even if I don't use this ability, I can still defeat you in 1 minute with just my strength." F***CKU. Ming Ri Hao was so mad that he stomped his feet. However, he knew that what the Sun King said was the truth. It was useless no matter how angry he was. "Are you still not going to use your final secret strength?" The Sun King looked at Yu Yang and asked. "It's not time yet." Yu Yang smiled. "I have a feeling that if I don't force you to use your final strength and destroy your final ability, I won't be able to kill you." The Sun King was silent for a moment. He looked at Yu Yang and slowly raised his right hand and pointed at Ming Ri Hao. "How about this? I'll break Ming Ri Hao's 4 limbs to remind you not to provoke an opponent who can definitely kill you." "Then what should I do? Stretch out my neck to be chopped off like you want?" Yu Yang ridiculed. He wasn't the kind of person who could be threatened into submission. "If you don't use your final strength, then I'm going to make my move. Titan you, no matter how smart you are, you won't be able to escape from my attack. Because the difference between us is too big. My 10,000 years of hard work isn't something that you can erase in a few years. If no one helps me." When the Sun King said this, he looked at the Freedom Queen. The Freedom Queen shook her head. "Don't worry, I won't interfere in your battle. However, the powerful Sun King who has the quasi-god body isn't an undying existence. Titan Prince has something that can kill you. Take it as a small reminder from me." The Sun King's face immediately darkened. "What is that?" The Freedom Queen still shook her head. "I won't say. Furthermore, I didn't see it clearly." The Sun King turned his gaze towards Yu Yang. Suddenly, he smiled again. "Does Titan Prince have Deicide's treasure? I've already expected it. This is also the reason why I've been worried about it. If he had enough time to grow, for example, 100 more years, the Titan Prince with Deicide's treasure would probably fall even if he was the deity temple's Jizun. However, he wouldn't have this chance now. To be able to bury the new generation prison emperor of Tong Tian Tower, to be able to bury the Conquest Queen's direct disciple, even if I, Lai Zhongkong, am killed by Deicide's treasure, I will die without regrets. The final test is over. Ming Ri Hao, Yu Yang, Titan Yu, and Freedom Queen Wang Ingluo, all of you can disappear. A light that was thousands of times more intense than the sun shot out from the Sun King's body. It was as if there was a sun burning the entire stone world. Everything was burning in the sun. No one was spared. Chapter 973. In the stone world, everything was the same. Although the stone world was almost destroyed by Sun King, it returned to its original state under the reversal of the sun clock, time domain and time law. The only difference was that Yu Yang, Ming Ri Hao and Freedom Queen, who were standing opposite Sun King, were gone. Could it be that the three of them were burnt to ashes by Sun King's blazing sun and turned into nothingness? Sun King knew how powerful his attack was. Although it was an attack with his full strength, he did not think that he could completely destroy the lives of Yu Yang and the other two. Even the Freedom Queen and Ming Ri Hao wouldn't die so easily. It was possible for them to be heavily injured. However, when the three of them disappeared, a thought flashed through Sun King's mind. Yu Yang and Ming Ri Hao escaped. Right under his nose, under his destructive attack, they used a special method that he did not expect to escape. That was definitely not the ability of the three-realm compass. Under the influence of his domain and laws, the three-realm compass could not be used. Yu Yang must have used some other method. Sun King looked at the place where Yu Yang was standing. There was a small pool of blood there. He snapped his fingers. A green-skinned, strange-looking war beast jumped out from the golden light. It sniffed the blood a few times and immediately rushed towards the star world. This was Sun King's most trusted mudskipper. It was a non-combat type war beast that was extremely good at tracking because it was extremely powerful and rare. In the central shrine, only palace masters and above were qualified to have a mudskipper that would never lose its way once it started tracking. The mudskipper was not strong, but its body was half elemental and half living. Whether it was sea, land or air, no harsh terrain could stop it from moving forward. Most importantly, once the mudskipper was contracted, it would be a war beast that could not be killed before its owner died. It was similar to a guardian war beast in some aspect. The Sun King's muddog had already been trained to the first rank of the Heaven Realm. Although it was not enough in battle, it was enough for tracking. Before the pursuit, the Sun King carefully observed the surroundings of the stone world for a while. Obviously, even though there were mutagen dogs chasing after them, the Sun King didn't completely believe in this conclusion. Instead, he carefully searched the surroundings until he confirmed again and again that Yu Yang and Ming Ri Hao didn't hide from his eyes and didn't hide somewhere in the stone world. Indeed, they had really entered the astral world where the divine palace was lying. Only then did the Sun King slowly chase after them. To be honest, even if he saw Yu Yang's Ming Ri Wu's corpse, he would not be able to do so. He also had his suspicions. Forget about Ming Ri Hao. Before he saw Yu Yang's soul being completely destroyed, Sun King would never believe that Yu Yang, the new prison emperor, had died. Even if there was only a 1 in a million chance, the Sun King wouldn't let it happen. For the Sun King, if he wanted the central shrine to be glorious forever, threats like the Yu Yang Yu Titan had to be eradicated. There was nothing in the astral world. Even half of the unknown goddess body was gone. In the place where the goddess remains used to be, there was a mysterious ancient rune circle. The Sun King stepped forward and struggled to identify the mysterious ancient rune circle. He found that it was a god's wish circle. Through this god's wish array, he should be able to directly teleport to the divine grimoire according to the goddess' last wish. In order for future generations to enter the divine grimoire space, the goddess did not hesitate to sacrifice herself and use her life to open up this divine will passage, So it turns out that he purposely lifted the goddess's skirt not because he was lecherous, but because he wanted to investigate this path of divine will. The Sun King's face darkened, and he slowly clenched his fists. Damn it, this cunning kid. Did he already think of a way out before he discovered me? As expected of the young man who killed the Nine Lights Empress. Woof woof. The mudskipper didn't track based on smell, but on its senses. It barked at the ancient wish rune circle. However, with its ability and obedience, without the Sun King's order, it would not be able to do anything. It would not dare to enter the ancient wish rune circle by itself. The divine grimoire space was not something that any life form could enter. The mudskipper had a certain level of intelligence. It had already sensed the power of the divine grimoire, and there was a kind of reverence in its heart. The Sun King glanced at it and ordered, "You guard here. Before I come out, no one is allowed to enter. Even if the lion, Golden Crown, and Two-Faced come, let them wait outside. No one is allowed to touch this ancient wish rune circle." The mudskipper had intelligence and understood human nature. Other than not being able to speak, it was no different from an adult heaven stage martial artist. It bowed its head and accepted the order. It lay down in front of the ancient wish rune circle and quietly waited for its master's report. The Sun King's body flickered with a golden light. He stood on the circle and instantly teleported away. 5 minutes later, he suddenly appeared again and flew out of the stone world to search again. After confirming that Yu Yang had already escaped into the divine grimoire space with Ming Ri Wu and the Liberty Queen, he stood on the ancient wish rune circle and officially teleported in. The ancient wish rune circle erupted with a silver brilliance. It was incomparably beautiful, as if the Milky Way was descending from the sky. A wave of divine power was born under the Sun King's feet. In an instant, the Sun King disappeared. At the same time, it was as if a door had opened and a person had entered and another person had walked out. Yu Yang replaced the Sun King and stood on the ancient wish rune circle. The mudskipper's eyes widened as it stared at him. "What the f***ck, are your dog eyes blind? Didn't your dog owner teach you manners?" Yu Yang was unhappy with the mudskipper's gaze and sent the mudskipper flying with a kick. The mudskipper fell heavily 100 meters away. Its head was kicked and its spine was almost broken. It was dizzy and disoriented. For a moment, it couldn't understand how this enemy could come out from the divine grimoire. Furthermore, he had accurately calculated the time of its owner's entry. How was this possible? Of course, let alone a dog, even the mudskipper's owner, the cautious and meticulous Sun King, had fallen into Yu Yang's trap. The mudskipper who was sent flying cried out in pain, "Woof, woof, woof," seeing that Yu Yang was about to leave. The mudskipper hurriedly climbed up in pain. Should it continue to wait for its owner in front of the ancient wish rune circle, or should it chase after this enemy? These two choices were equally important. Guarding here was to prevent someone from destroying the teleportation. If its owner did not succeed in contracting the divine grimoire, he would have to leave here. If the teleportation circle here was destroyed, then it would be troublesome for its owner to come out. However, its owner's main goal in entering the divine grimoire was to kill this threatening enemy. If this enemy escaped, wouldn't he fail his previous mission? These two conflicting thoughts almost made the mudskipper's brain explode. After all, it was not a human. No matter how smart it was still a dog. When Yu Yang slowly walked out of the astral world and was about to leave the stone world, the mudskipper couldn't help it and quickly chased after him. With its ability, it could not keep an enemy of Yu Yang's level, but it had to keep chasing and leave a clue and a target for its owner. Yu Yang ignored it. When he was about to enter the space channel, a wounded and bloody dog ran in from the space channel. It shook its head like a bootlicker. The smirk on its face made the mudskipper want to beat it up. Damn, even if it was a watchdog, wasn't it too degrading? It was a disgrace to a dog. If it were not for Yu Yang, The mudskipper was prepared to teach this dog a lesson and teach it what a dog's dignity was. Idiot, do I need you to save me? You don't need to think about it. I am blessed and have a good life. When have I ever had anything happen to me? Are you a pig? You can be stupid, but you don't need to be that stupid. Just be a little stupid, Scram. Seeing that Hui Tai Lang had expressed his loyalty, Yu Yang immediately rewarded it with a kick. You even wanted a watchdog to come and save its master? Did you think that this was a drama where Auntie Cheong Yao stirred up tears? Was it that melodramatic? Meow. Hui Tai Lang hurriedly smiled, expressing that other than being a bystander, it was mainly here to admire its owner's prestige. This kind of lowly method of expressing loyalty made the mudskipper want to vomit. What a despicable dog! It had never expressed its loyalty like this before. Yu Yang suddenly looked back at the mudskipper and said to himself, although it's not good at fighting, it's not bad at scouting and tracking. It's also fast. The mudskipper knew that he was talking about it. It proudly showed its power to Hui Tai Lang. What was an awesome dog! Not only did it have to be praised by its owner, it also had to be recognized by its enemy. For example, this wounded watchdog was disliked by its owner and disliked by outsiders. It was simply a disgrace to the dog world. Hui Tai Lang seemed to be affected by the mudskipper's prestige. Its whole body slumped on the ground. It looked dispirited. After Yu Yang left, it stretched its limbs, looking as if it was going to starve to commit suicide. The mudskipper was prepared to chase after Yu Yang, but before it chased after its enemy, it proudly circled around Hui Tai Lang's body a few times, shaking its butt a few times. Seeing that Grey Wolf's strength was very weak, and that he was on the verge of death, and most importantly, that kind of half-dead energy, he was completely crippled. Even if they were to fight, Mudskipper felt that this lowly mutt was definitely not a match for this noble dog prince. The Mudskipper raised its head and looked at the place where Yu Yang's figure disappeared. Based on the enemy's speed, it was confident that it could catch up to him within 30 seconds. Before that, the Mudskipper hesitated for a second. In the end, it decided to play around with this despicable and pitiful country bumpkin dog. Woof woof! The Mudskipper wagged its tail and shook its butt, shaking it in front of Hui Tai Lang. Its meaning was, "Come and eat my fart, you can't even eat my fart." Hui Tai Lang angrily waved its paw. But the Mudskipper was too fast. It couldn't catch it at all. The Mudskipper first ran away, but when it measured the attack speed of the dog in front of it, it became even more complacent and unscrupulously moved its butt close to Hui Tai Lang's mouth. Anyway, with its opponent's speed, even if it was 10 times faster, it wouldn't be able to hurt it. If this dog's attack speed was wind, then the Mudskipper felt that its speed was electricity. Wind could never catch up with electricity, no matter how hard it tried. No matter how angry it was. Hui Tai Lang opened its mouth a few times, but the Mudskipper darted out like lightning, unable to bite it no matter how hard it tried. The Mudskipper laughed wildly, rolling all over the ground. However, just as it was laughing heartily, Grey Wolf suddenly made a move. It opened its mouth once again. Its head was 100 times larger than before, and with just a single bite, it was able to devour Quan's entire body. It wasn't that the Mudskipper didn't try to escape, but it used the fastest speed in its life, and still couldn't escape Hui Tai Lang's bloody mouth. Gulp! Hui Tai Lang swallowed the Mudskipper into its stomach, and its face once again revealed a despicable smile that deserved a beating. It imitated the Mudskipper's movements before it died, shaking its butt, wagging its tail, and proudly taking square steps on the stone surface where the Mudskipper had been before it died. In the end, it even laughed out loud. Rolling all over the ground when it finally stopped laughing and stood up, it returned to the appearance of a stupid dog, just short of carving the words, "I am very stupid," on its forehead. Chapter 974. Storm Sea. Double-faced King found that he did not need to do anything. The Vengeance Domain Emperor and the Wrath Domain Emperor were already being pushed back by Lion King and Golden Crown King. The Wrath Domain Emperor was still able to fight evenly with the Lion King. The Wrath Domain Emperor retreated mainly because the Lion King's attacks were too powerful and he did not want to take them head-on. Moreover, the Silent King was watching from the side, so he could not concentrate fully. However, the Vengeance Domain Emperor was in a much more serious situation. He was no longer a match for the Golden Crown King. After a long battle, the situation was getting worse. The Vengeance Domain Emperor was being suppressed by the Golden Crown King. It was only a matter of time before he was defeated. With the Silent King around, the Vengeful Domain Emperor's life was likely to be in danger. Among the people present, the only one who could possibly escape was the Enraged Domain Emperor, who could barely protect himself. And this was under the condition that the Silent King did not attack with full force and had the intention to let him go. "I'll leave these small fries to you." Double-Faced King ordered the poet and ordered his 8 generals to continue surrounding the Still Wind Kingdom King and the other Heaven Rankers. Yes. The poet actually knew that the Still Wind Kingdom King, Green Wolf Kingdom King, and the others were already prisoners of the Central Shrine. Even if they were let go, they would not be able to escape. The reason why the Still Wind Kingdom King and the others did not commit suicide was because they were waiting for a miracle. They hoped that the Yu Titan from the Tong Tian Tower could defeat the Sun King and return victorious. Then, he would defeat the Silent King and lead everyone to a new life. This possibility. It was more impossible than a pie falling from the sky. Even with the help of Ming Ri Wu and the Freedom Queen, how could the Titan Prince be a match for the Sun King? Even if he could escape from the Sun King, he would not dare to stay. Defeat the Silent King and save these Heaven Rankers who had nothing to do with him? However, it was still a hope. As long as there was a glimmer of hope in their hearts, no matter how small it was, people would not give up. This was human nature. In a life-and-death situation, when there was no other way, who would be willing to die when there was still hope? Double-Faced King did not want to compete with the Golden Crown King and the Lion King. They wanted to avenge the Domain Emperor and rage the Domain Emperor. If they interfered, the Lion and the Golden Crown wouldn't be happy even if they didn't show it on the surface. The Double-Faced King did not want to compete for this credit, and there was no need to. This was because in the Stone World or the Space Channel, there were still 3 Sky-Split Tower warriors waiting to be dealt with. They couldn't compare to the 3 region emperors, but their contributions weren't small either. Most importantly, the 3 warriors of the Tong Tian Tower seemed to be standing firmly on the surface. However, Double-Faced King knew that it was just a facade. That was how battles were. If there was constant pressure, then the person who was fighting with his life on the line would be able to persist and not let go, or even stand tall, giving others the terrifying illusion that no matter how hard they were hit, they would not die. However, there was one thing that was certain. As long as these people relaxed, it would be almost impossible for them to stand up again. This was because their bodies were severely exhausted. Once their minds relaxed, they would no longer have the strength to struggle. Double-Faced King, who was familiar with all kinds of battle phenomena, had seen all kinds of death-worn before. He felt that it would be best for him to deal with the 3 unkillable Tong Tian Tower warriors. He guessed that Sky's Retribution, the tenacious man who could still stand proudly in a state of near death, who did not give up even after his heart stopped beating, and who used electricity to stimulate his heart to fight again, was now on the ground, dying. Without the pressure, that kind of person wouldn't be able to hold on. Hee. Double-Faced King let out an eerie laugh. He carried his black scythe and glided across the night sky like a bat, disappearing into the space tunnel. There was no one in the space tunnel. There were no signs of him collapsing like what Double-Faced King had expected. Could it be that Sky's Retribution had escaped? After entering the Stone World, Double-faced king saw Sky's retribution and the others sitting in front of the Star World stone adjusting their breathing. He finally heaved a sigh of relief. So Sky's retribution and his two companions had held on until here before collapsing. What about Sun King, Titan Yu and the others? Why did they disappear? Could it be? The double-faced king looked at the place where half of the god's body had been. There was nothing left, and the ancient rune circle underneath was still faintly flickering. He immediately understood that the Sun King must have chased the Titan Mountain into the divine grimoire's space. As expected of the new prison emperor of Tong Tian Tower. He was really cunning. He could even find a way to escape from a rancor like Sun King. However, since Sun King had chased after Titan Yu, the rest of the credit would belong to him. Killing 3 Tong Tian Tower warriors who were on the verge of death and had no choice but to adjust their breathing to heal themselves was probably more difficult than killing 3 chickens. Awoo meow. In this world, there was only one watchdog that knew so many foreign languages. It was Hui Tai Lang. What AF * King Lowly Dog. Double-faced king realized that Hui Tai Lang was standing behind him with a smile that made people want to beat him up. He even burped as if he had eaten his fill. Double-faced king's mood became extremely bad and he couldn't help but curse. Woof! Hui Tai Lang laughed. He laughed like an idiot. His face was filled with an idiotic look that said, I sold you and I still helped you count the money. On the other side of the storm ocean, the battle was still ongoing. Angry Realm Emperor, you are the person I hate and hate the most in my life. I wish I could eat your flesh, drink your blood and sleep with your skin at night. I have never thought that one day I would fight alongside you. A trash like you should have died long ago if you had any self-awareness. The vengeful Realm Emperor was hit by Golden Crown King's sneak attack and was thrown thousands of meters away, creating waves in the storm ocean. Blood spurted out of his mouth like a fountain, but the light in his eyes was getting brighter and brighter, like the last light of an oil lamp before it went out. But now, at the last moment, in order not to disgust me, get out of here immediately. There's no need to struggle here. I don't want people like you to die with me. Get out, get out. Little brat, you can't control me. The angry Realm Emperor snorted heavily. To be honest, the angry Realm Emperor's behavior was beyond everyone's expectations. Everyone thought that once he got out, he would escape without a trace. But what was surprising was that this angry Realm Emperor actually fought against the Lion King. Even though he had several opportunities to escape, he didn't do so. If he hesitated once because he was worried about the Silent King's trap, then, the next few times, why didn't he take the chance to escape when there was a better opportunity? A person like the angry Realm Emperor was not someone who would sacrifice himself for others. Although the angry Realm Emperor seemed to disdain the vengeful Realm Emperor, his refusal to leave made everyone feel that this guy was not as selfish or heartless as the rumors said. In some matters, even if the angry Realm Emperor did something wrong, he probably had a mental struggle. All in all, now everyone felt that although the angry Realm Emperor was the one who caused the whole tragedy, he did not do it intentionally. In fact, the angry Realm Emperor was not a crazy person. It was just his stubborn personality that caused the misfortune in his life. A pitiful person who killed his beloved wife and daughter, a pitiful person who destroyed his whole life in pursuit of perfection. You can't even protect yourself. The Lion King roared and burst out with all his strength. The grimoire was suspended in the air, and the energy light pillar soared into the sky. The image of a golden lion covered the whole sky. Except for the Silent King, everyone else was suffocated by the pressure of the Lion King. People like Leader Jean and Chief Butler Yi, who were not even heaven rankers, fainted immediately. A golden lion cloud that was even bigger than the burning cloud descended from the sky, covering the sun. It was made up of pure elemental energy. A unique lion cloud formed by the 3 elements of gold, fire and wind. This kind of lion cloud was stronger than the real Lion King. It was bigger and more majestic. It was ever-changing and had infinite power. When it descended, the entire storm sea, which was filled with raging waves, was suppressed by the lion cloud until it was as flat as a mirror. Those below Heaven Ranker Level 3 could not help but fall to the ground. Even the Still Wind Kingdom Emperor, Green Wolf Kingdom Emperor and other Heaven Rankers felt suffocated and almost bent their knees to submit to this lion cloud. The lion cloud was no different from a lion, but it was 10,000 times bigger. It changed from wind to fire in an instant, and then to a golden lion. A claw directly hit the Vengeful Realm Emperor's head. When the Vengeful Realm Emperor used all his strength to resist the attack with the Divine Light Sword, the second wave of attack had already arrived. The flames in the lion cloud's mouth burned the storm sea, and a large amount of seawater turned into white mist. The Vengeful Realm Emperor was in the center of the flames. He was almost charred. When the Vengeful Realm Emperor rushed over to save him, a cruel look flashed across the Lion King's eyes. He raised his giant claw and used all his strength to destroy mountains and rivers to hit the Vengeful Realm Emperor's chest heavily. The Vengeful Realm Emperor spat out a mouthful of blood and fell down like a meteor. On the other side, the guardian beast of the Lion King, Lion Cloud, had already changed from fire to gold. Its giant golden claw was waiting for the Vengeful Realm Emperor to be hit again in the opposite direction. The Vengeful Realm Emperor, who was originally falling straight down, turned into a tumbling rotation. It was like splashing water on the storm sea, creating waves of splashes. Every splash was splashed with the Vengeful Realm Emperor's blood. The Vengeful Realm Emperor arrived. The Vengeful Realm Emperor had reached the limit of his body and was dying. His skull, sternum and vertebrae were all shattered to varying degrees. Some broken bones formed sharp bone spurs, pierced through his skin and came out through his chest and back. No, no! The Vengeful Realm Emperor couldn't save him in time and could only watch it happen. He suddenly knelt down in pain and stretched out his hand excitedly in front of the Vengeful Realm Emperor, as if he wanted to catch the Vengeful Realm Emperor's broken body. The blood of anger all over his body turned into blood tears, dripping on the storm sea. Don't be like this. Stand up. I know you hate me. I know you want revenge. Continue to stand up and fight with me. Do you hear me? How can a proud young man like you fall in front of an old man like me? You are too weak. Can't you even take this little blow? Don't you want to avenge your mother? Get up and fight with me. In the blurry bloodlight, a middle-aged man with a painful face could be seen, looking at the broken body of the Vengeful Realm Emperor in despair. The Lion King was merciless when he had the upper hand. Several heavy punches landed on the head of the Vengeful Realm Emperor. The Vengeful Realm Emperor didn't block them and forcibly withstood them. The blood on his head flowed down his forehead, slid past his eyebrows, dripped down his eyelids, and dripped down his cheek. Finally, it mixed with his tears and fell into the storm sea. Get lost. I don't need your sympathy. The Vengeful Realm Emperor's lips wriggled as he said weakly. His voice became softer and softer. In the end, it became so weak that it couldn't even be heard. Apparently, he didn't even have the strength to speak. The enraged Domain Emperor wanted to reach out and pick up the Vengeful Domain Emperor, but the Lion King stepped on the enraged Domain Emperor's hand, and the Golden Crown King's palms pressed on the enraged Domain Emperor's back silently. Blood spurted out of the enraged Domain Emperor's mouth and nose, and his internal organs were almost shattered by the Golden Crown King's hidden force. The Silent King, who was holding the Divine Light Domain Emperor in the distance, looked on indifferently, unmoved. The Vengeful Realm Emperor. Seeing the Vengeful Realm Emperor like this, even though he still refused to forgive this person. However, he didn't give up. A drop of tear flowed out of his eyes and fell on the blood on the sea. The snake-haired devil sighed softly. Well, to be able to die under the blood and tears of your loved ones, revenge, you have nothing to regret. The Lion King raised his hands. his guardian beast, Lion Cloud, turned into a wind lion, filling the entire sky. On the storm sea, which was as calm as a mirror, there was an image of a lion with its mouth wide open, swallowing down fiercely. One blow was enough to destroy the world. The vengeful realm emperor, the snake-haired devil, the lord of Still Wind Kingdom, and the lord of Green Wolf Kingdom all closed their eyes. There was absolutely no way to survive such a fatal blow. There were only a few seconds left to live. All the grievances, all the hatred, everything was going to end. Farewell, my friend. Farewell, my lover, farewell, my loved ones. However, when the lion cloud swallowed down, the vengeful realm emperor suddenly rushed out, lifted the vengeful realm emperor in his arms, and wrapped the vengeful realm emperor with the aura of the blood sea around him. Then, he tore the space and prepared to throw the vengeful realm emperor into the broken void. He didn't know if the severely injured vengeful realm emperor could survive in the broken void. However, the vengeful realm emperor hoped that he could do something for the last family member who had always hated him, even if the vengeful realm emperor would not be grateful in the future. I was wrong before. I hope you can live well. Living is more important than anything else. The vengeful realm emperor, who had never admitted his mistakes, apologized for the first time. He lowered his head to the vengeful realm emperor, his only family member, who might never forgive him. What a touching family member! Let me send you to hell together. The Golden Crown King's right arm suddenly turned into a golden holy sword. It pierced through the vengeful realm emperor's chest from behind. The tip of the finger was still deeply inserted into the vengeful realm emperor's chest. Under the obstruction of the vengeful realm emperor, the long needle pierced through the vengeful realm emperor's heart. Faster than the Golden Crown King, the Lion King opened its mouth and spat out a lion-spitting wind, which directly shattered the space that the vengeful realm emperor tore apart, completely destroying the vengeful realm emperor's last hope of escaping. Howl! The vengeful realm emperor roared in grief, and a blood-red vengeful demon god image exploded above his head. The lion cloud, which was about to devour the entire storm sea, was instantly pierced through by the blood-red vengeful demon god's attack. The vengeful demon god leaned back in grief, and the 7 orifices on his head emitted blood-red light, and his horrifying face was extremely distorted. A sorrowful and indignant power of the law, carried by the blood sea's red light, penetrated the entire storm sea, including the hearts of all the heaven stage experts. Everyone could clearly feel the anger and despair of the vengeful realm emperor. Ah! The vengeful realm emperor was completely dominated by grief and indignation. He turned around and chopped off the Golden Crown King's right arm that had turned into a golden holy sword with his bare hands, blood splattered. The vengeful realm emperor's sorrowful cry resounded in the sky for a long time. Unknowingly, the storm sea had turned into angry blood, and it erupted at the same time. Destruction, regardless of friend or foe, everything in the world, everything, 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 everything. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.